San Diego, it's time to fire it up. From the beaches to the ballparks, from the Gaslamp to North County, no one knows America's finest city like he does.
You can't just punt on a Manny Machado prime use.
He's a fourth-generation San Diegan, born and raised in the heart of this community. Passionate, opinionated, and always bringing you the real talk on your teams, your city, and everything in between.
Braden totally knows his stuff. He's ready for the next step. That guy is good.
Live and local, it's the Braden Surprenant Show.
But I think Braden's one of the up-and-coming young stars in the media game in San Diego.
Now, here's your host, Braden Surprenant.
What's up, San Diego? Get fired up on a Wednesday morning. Braden Surprenant, Frank Marchese, the Braden Surprenant Show. Just getting started. We are here for all of you. Hopefully to put you in a better mood. We're walking in the studio. Woods goes, good luck talking about that offense last night. Hey, you know what? It's going to happen. You're going to have stretches like that. You can't get so caught up in it. Adam Klug asked us before the show, what do we got today? And of course, we laid out what we're going to talk about. We got some good topics on hand that I want your opinions on, that we're going to give our opinions on. You know, Dylan Cease had a solid outing last night. He had an outing that was good enough to win. 7 innings, 3 runs, 3 hits, 6 strikeouts, 1 walk, 100 pitches, 71 strikes. Did give up a couple of bombs, but you know what? He pitched well enough to win. Are the Padres wasting elite starts? I wouldn't consider that an elite start, but they definitely wasted his start. We're going to talk about that. Would you sign Cease to an extension based on his season so far? I don't know about that yet, but it's an interesting topic of discussion. We talked about pitching yesterday. He is a free agent at the end of the year. I'd much rather have Michael King over Dylan Cease right now if I had to pick between the two. Maybe he becomes more affordable based on how he's pitched so far this year. We'll talk about that later on in the show. Is this lineup too dependent on the core? We'll talk about that later in the show. Pitchers got rehab assignments. We'll keep you updated on what pitchers might be coming back for the San Diego Padres, what potential role they might have with this Padres team this season. We're talking about donuts in the lunchtime hour. We teased that yesterday. They still have some donuts from yesterday, Frank. Mary's Donuts is still here.
I bet they are. I bet they are. I'm not having a stale donut this early in the morning. Are you nuts?
Yeah, I'm probably not going to do that either. The day-old donuts are usually pretty good. You can usually get a deal on those when you go to your local donut shop. We'll talk about that in the noon hour. Nothing says lunch better than a donut. Ha! That's funny. It's our midday sports standoff today. Talk about the difference in the offense, the slugging versus sticking to contact. I mean, Mike Schilt says the Padres have the best version of an offense. Is that true in a league where power is king? Can that really compete in October? We'll break that down in the 1 o'clock hour. But I think overall, as we were explaining all of our topics to our boss, Adam, today, and Adam, comes from a producer background, usually comes up with some really great content ideas. He asked, what is your level of concern? And I responded with, I don't know, probably 10%. I'm not worried about it at all. I really am not. This is stuff that happens during a long 162-game season. I mean, the Dodgers last night came back to win. And I hate comparing everything to L.A., nor do I like giving up updates to L.A. But if they're going to be what is compared to in terms of the class of Major League Baseball because of the roster they have, right? I mean, the best team money can buy, which, by the way, as they've struggled the last week or so, they've said, we're doing the best with what we have. Are you kidding me? Doing the best with what you have? What are you, the Rockies? Oh, we're just doing the best with what we have. Your $450 million freaking payroll? It's not enough for you guys? They needed a comeback last night after Tanner Scott gave it up twice to walk off the Diamondbacks in extra innings after the Diamondbacks kicked their ass on Monday. after they got swept by the Halos of the weekend. And guess what? It's a 4-game losing streak for the best team ever assembled in baseball. It happens, guys. It's going to happen to the best of teams. The San Diego Padres are batting .212 and have scored 3 runs over the past 4 games. When you look at, and Kevin Acee did a great job, maybe this will talk you off the ledge a little bit. People are like, when do we panic? September? No. I mean, if they continue to do this for a week and a little bit longer than that, there might be cause for concern. As of right now, I'm not concerned. I said a couple weeks ago, Padres are going to win 5, 6, 7 games in a row sometimes. They're also going to lose 4, 5, 6, 7 games in a row sometimes. Kevin Acee looked back in time. He says, I have far too much time to go back and research how many World Series teams had hit .212 or lower over the course of a 4-game stretch at any point during the season they won the title. Kevin, I greatly appreciate you, brother, for doing this. Bro, that is some serious research right there. I'm like thinking about like having to go through Baseball Reference or like, how do you find this information? Long hours in a hotel room on the road, I guess. Flights, other things. But Kevin Acee looked back at how many World Series teams hit .212 or lower over the course of a 4-game stretch at any point during the season they won the title. And to no surprise, every single one of them going back to 1903 endured such a stretch. All except for the 1923 and the 1927 Yankees. Actually, that's a lie. I read that wrong. Every single World Series team going back to 1903 endured a stretch in which they hit .212 over a 4-game period. All of those teams, with the exception of the 23 and 27 Yankees, endured multiple such stretches. But that being said, as they were not hitting very well during said stretches, they did end up scoring runs. Kevin Acee goes on to say, but just 10 of those 120 championship teams were also held to as few as 3 runs in that span of 4 games. That was the 02 Angels, the 01 Diamondbacks, the 64 Cardinals, the 33 Giants, and 6 teams before 1917. Run production is a problem for the Padres. I would admit that. So you look at the offensive philosophy for the Padres, you look at how their team is assembled, there might be a couple of concerning things about that. But again, 0 to 100 on the concernometer, if we're talking percentages, I'm at like 10%. I'm at like 10%. I'm not that concerned. McGraw in the chat goes, we need to shake things up. Might be time to shave the stash. When you guys see, after this week, when you see me the next time, which might be a little bit because I'm going to Italy, this will no longer be on my face. This is strictly for USD Baseball to win the West Coast Conference. And then after that, it's coming off. And if they get eliminated, then I'll shave it earlier. But this is the last week of the mustache. I've decided. I cleaned up around. What do we think? Not too bad.
Look, it's solid.
It's okay. I believe that people like the mustache more than I do. I'm not in love with the mustache. I have no opinion on it. It was a way for me for a while to be lazy and I have to shave. But it's gotten to a point where it's bothering me because it's like, I got to like, when I wipe my face, I feel like it's just a pain in the ass. So yes, there is potential there. So McGraw, maybe as soon as it shaves off, they go on a 10-game winning streak. You're welcome. And here's the thing. Every time I've said that I'm going to lose the stash, people go like, well, you got to have it in Italy. No, I don't. It's very stereotypical. Why? Because I look like Mario or Luigi with the mustache. It looks more of a cowboy stash than it looks like an Italian stash.
Like I told you yesterday, you are gonna set a world record over these next 2 weeks when you go to Italy.
Mm-hmm.
You are going to be the first person to ever go to Italy since World War II who didn't want to be there.
I want to travel. I would like to go to Italy. I like being here for the fans and talking Padres baseball. I do. I would much rather do that than travel outside of the United States. But you know what? I'll jump on the grenade if I have to. It's called being a team player. I'm helping out the ball club that is the Surprenant family, the Surprenant family. They're more excited than I am. In the middle of the summer, Padres season, high school football getting in full force, not as excited about it. But I've decided I'm going to do this. I am available for call-ins during the time slot because this show airs at 7 p.m. to 11 p.m. in Italy. A little late night talk show. But I will, on social media, be giving my Padres takes live from wherever I am. That could be in Portofino. That could be in Santa Margarita. That could be in Florence.
Okay.
Probably would be frowned upon if I did it at the Sistine Chapel, but
Okay,
it might be in play.
You don't got to rub it in now. Like, come on.
You'll see it on
It's a
social
little
media.
rude.
You'll see it on social media. I know you want to go back to the motherland really bad. So when I get back, high five, your turn to go. Next on the list. Doing a cooking class. Should be awesome. But I don't want to talk about that. I'm not concerned about the Padres. I'm not. I'm not ready to hit the panic button. I'm not ready to freak out. I like their offense. Okay? That's going to sound nuts. I like the Padres offense. Just because it's not working right now over a 4-game stretch does not mean you need to throw it. Where's the paper here? Do this and throw it out. Just because you have 4 games in 212. We've already talked. Kevin Acee laid it out. 212 over a 4-game span. Every single World Series team since 1903 has done such a stretch. Now, you'll be honest, the run scoring is a little bit of a problem. But that being said, I like the way that the Padres have their offense. I think there's something to be said about what Mike Shildt said about his offense. It's a way to win. And we all know how Mike Shildt teams usually do better in the second half. We see them play, and I like the way that they've bought in. We talked about that with Manny Machado yesterday. I'm telling you right now, don't hit the panic button. It's time to flush it. If they get swept in Toronto, my concern-o-meter would go up a little bit more. But they're hitting the ball hard. They're hitting it right at people. I heard Tony say this on the broadcast yesterday with Scan, and we're going to have Scan on here in the next hour, about some of those line drive outs and some of those balls that the Padres were piecing last night, and they are the most frustrating as a hitter you could potentially have, and those are the swings that make you go up the next time trying to do too much. 100% true. There's a little bit of pressing. This is the first time that you've really seen the Padres, outside of when they were missing most of their team, struggle in terms of doing too much, trying to do too much, and you're starting to see that offensively. They got to be able to work their way out of it. Mike Shildt said that on Sunday. He said, we're going to play our way out of this. They're going to be fine. It's a blip on a long season. Again, we can have this conversation again on Friday. If they just got swept by Toronto and they're limping into Atlanta, then we'll have a conversation. But I need a larger sample size of them absolutely falling apart before I can sit there and be like, what are we doing? 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. Dylan Cease looked like he turned a corner. Rotation looks pretty good. But are the Padres starting to waste some elite starts? We'll talk about that when we come back. Bob Scanlan will join us at 10:30. Coming up at 11:30, former Padre Eric Lauer will join the show. Current Blue Jay. Talk to him a little bit about his time in San Diego and what it's like now in Toronto. All more to come on the Braden Surprenant Show on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. 10:20 on a Wednesday morning. Anybody mind if Cole Brooks have a morning? Guy's eating Taco Bell already. What a Wednesday morning. You know what? Treat yourself. Anybody mind? Frank, you mind? Mind if a guy has a day?
I don't mind at all. I had
Have a
myself
day.
a day last week, but it's the Taco Bell breakfast that scares me.
We don't know what he got.
I would have to assume it's breakfast.
You don't have to assume anything. I mean, our guy here, Prasser, engineer. He's
Yes.
here early in the morning. He's an early morning shift engineer.
Well,
he gets his. You don't know what Cole does.
that's
You don't know what he does.
It's a little
He
bit
could
of a
be eating-
difference.
It's a lunchtime at 10 for some people. We are the lunchtime hour show from 10 to 2. People are having lunch all the time.
Unfortunately, we're not having lunch today. That was great yesterday.
Yeah, thank
that
you,
was
OGs.
very appreciative yesterday.
Very appreciative. So if anybody mind, does anybody mind if Cole Brooks has a day? Guy has a full lunch spread. He's probably got the Nachos Bel Grande, some Crunchy Taco Supreme, a beefy 5-layer burrito. The guy's probably having a great Wednesday morning. You know what? Sometimes you got to flush out your favorite sports team's lack of offense and treat yourself on a Wednesday. Yeah, the guy's been working since 3. Frank, it's probably dinner for him right now. It's dinner time for Cole.
Then, all the best to you, buddy.
All the best to you. All the best to Dylan Cease. Dylan Cease has been heating up. Been doing a lot better. It's funny, like yesterday, one of our coaches at practice, because the game starts at 4:07 with them in Toronto. Our practice during spring ball ends at 4:30, so he got a score update and goes, Dylan Cease sucks. Are you kidding me with this guy? Does he always give up runs early? I'm like, he had like a no-hitter in New York for a while. He's been like playing a lot better. I'm like, he gave up what? A solo shot to Vlad Jr.? Yeah, sick, dude. It's not a problem. Solo shots shouldn't get you. You should be able to score. I thought last night Dylan Cease had a decent outing. I thought it was a solid outing. It was good enough to win. 7 innings pitched, 3 runs, 3 hits, 6 strikeouts, 1 walk, 100 pitches, and 71 strikes. That's good enough to win. And Cease is starting to play and pitch a lot like the Dylan Cease that the Padres acquired last year at the beginning of the season. Now, he's not to an elite level. I don't think, the Padres are wasting elite starts now. But I do think they're starting to waste some of their starting pitching starts. Now, that being said, it's funny, Adam Klug asked us the question, would you be more concerned about the Padres if it was the pitching that was giving everything up compared to the hitting? I think everybody would be the same level of concern right now. Is it a concern that the Padres are losing? Or is it a concern that the Padres are losing because of the way that they're playing? You brought up the style points in college football. Like, to me, the college athletics is different from a sense of you have to you don't get to play all the best teams all the time, and the schedule's different, and there's so many teams that you're trying to make a splash, and you're trying to beat up on inferior opponents and beating up on good teams to show that you're a really good team, because you only have 12 opportunities to do so. In Major League Baseball and in professional sports, you basically play everybody, and everybody's a professional team, so win-loss record is all that matters. So the question was, is it based on how they're losing, or is it the fact that they're losing? I think the only reason why people are a little concerned is because they're taking L's in the L column, not because of how they're losing. Yes, they're not scoring a lot of runs. I think it would be more concerning if the Padres are losing games like 11-8 and your pitching staff's a joke, because we know what wins in the postseason. It's pitching. Are the Padres starting to waste elite starts? Well, let's hear what Mike Schilt had to say about Dylan Cease's outing yesterday.
7 really quality innings, in control effectively the whole night. Throwing where we wanted to, a lot of life, slider really good. Guerrero actually got a pitch that was pretty good heater up, put a swing on it. The slider, Santana, he was able to get some barrel on it, obviously, but Dylan was fantastic and gave us 7 quality innings. It's always nice to get 7 innings out of your starter, especially when you start a stretch of games, at the beginning of a stretch of games. So he was really good.
He was really good. Padres need to be able to capitalize on some of those starts. But the thing is, it's, as Go Aztecs on Twitch says, batting comes around, pitching would worry me. Absolutely. Pitching staff's in a good spot. And you got reinforcements coming up the pipeline here. Matt Waldron, Ryan Hoeing have joined Double-A San Antonio to get some work. They're going to be coming back. We expect Yu Darvish to be back at some point near the end of May. He will not pitch this week in Toronto, but could potentially, who knows, pitch on the road trip. We'll find out. Not too much information on Yu yet, but he's coming back, and your pitching staff is doing a really good job. The batting order is a little bit top-heavy, but you knew that going into the season. That was what the Padres were always going to be. They were going to be a top-heavy team. They weren't going to be this lengthy lineup. And we've talked about it the last couple of days, and I've heard on multiple of our talk shows here at 97 Through the Fan. There's not a lot of 7, 8, 9 out there that's good anywhere in baseball. You take what you can get out of 7, 8, 9. Your top of the order's got to win you games. And when the top of the order struggles, your team struggles. Look at every team in baseball. When the top of their order struggles, they struggle. There's not a lot of teams that are 1 through 9 got a bunch of world beaters. There's not. I would be a little bit more concerned if the pitching was costing them games more so than the hitting. But the question was, are the Padres starting to waste elite starting pitching? I would say no. I don't think you're getting elite pitching yet. I think you're getting really good pitching. And I believe in the starting rotation to a sense of, I think they're going to continue to put up good numbers, and it's not just a stretch for them where they're doing well. And it's going to go away. I think it's going to stay throughout the year. You have the pitchers that do it. So I think they are starting to waste good pitching. I don't think they're starting to waste elite pitching yet. But the pitching staff is taking over right now and giving you an opportunity to win. I mean, even last night, with as bad as the offense played, the pitching staff last night gave you an opportunity to win. Padres just unable to capitalize. 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. We will get to your phone calls in the next segment when we can. But joining us next from Toronto, called the ball game last night on radio with Tony Gwynn Jr. His name is Bob Scanlan. He'll be joining us, give us a little breakdown what he's been seeing on the road and at home with the San Diego Padres, as he will join me next on the Braden Surprenant Show on San Diego's number 1 sports station, 97 Through the Fan. 10:33 on a Wednesday. Getting you ready for Gwynn and Chris coming up at 2 o'clock. And then the EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show with Sam Levitt at 3:07. And then we will have Padres baseball at 4:07. Yesterday, calling the game, and a broadcaster for the San Diego Padres, Bob Scanlan, joins us now on the Braden Surprenant Show. Bob, how's your Wednesday in Toronto going?
Hey, Braden, good to talk with you. Well, it's a little wet and cold, to be honest with you, but the good news is we have a roof here, so the weather is not a factor when it's game time.
Of course, that's a good. It's good to have roofs in places that have weather. Well, we're not used to that in San Diego. Obviously, with the Padres, the biggest concern, I think, for a lot of fans, even though I'm not concerned, but want to ask you, has been the offense the last couple of days. What have you noticed the most out of this offense, or should I say lack thereof?
Yeah, it's been interesting, right? I mean, this is definitely not something that we anticipated, and it's been 4 games now where the Padres have literally not had a hit with a runner in scoring position. I mean, it's bizarre. And there's a lot of different factors, right? I mean, you looked at the Seattle series, you got to give some credit to the Seattle pitching staff. They did a very nice job. I thought they did a great job also, especially when the Padres did have runners in scoring position with 2-out situations. They did not give in. They made quality pitches in their bullpen, which was a place that we thought we might be able to take advantage of them. They loaded up the strike zone, as a bullpen that traditionally, or at least throughout this year, has had some issues throwing strikes, but to their credit, they threw strikes and they went right after the Padres batters. And so, on the one hand, you don't want to give too much credit to opposing pitching because we know this is a lineup that can do damage against any type of pitching. And, you go through these streaks. Is it a situation of Padre batters not being as selective as they needed to be in terms of which pitches they were going after? Is it a situation of, we're going after the right pitches, but maybe not thinking the right approach, a little bit too much pull instead of opposite field, or, who knows? There's all kinds of factors that go into it, Braden, as we all know, and these streaks are going to happen over the course of the season. So hopefully you just hope that it doesn't go on too long. And, you look at some of the numbers with who's been hot and who's been not, and there's 2 main guys that have not been hot these last 4 games, and that's Manny Machado and Jackson Merrill, who are really a big part of the engine of this offense. If you look back at the wins the Padres have had over the course of the year, usually Manny and Jackson are guys that are contributing offensively, but collectively over the last 4 games, they're 2 for 32. So, that's a big chunk of it. I'm not trying to say that that's all of it. But obviously when you have 2 of your big guns like that going through a cold streak right now, and that happens over the course of the season, it's going to be tough to score runs. The other guys are certainly capable, Fernando and Luis Arraez and Xander Bogaerts, etc. You've got plenty of guys that should and can get it done, and hopefully we see it collectively come together tonight against Kevin Gausman.
Talking with Bob Scanlan, San Diego Padres broadcaster, 9 seasons in Major League Baseball as a pitcher. Speaking of pitching, Dylan Cease pitched well enough to win last night for the San Diego Padres. He looks like he's kind of turned a corner since the beginning of the season. What have you noticed out of Dylan Cease in his last couple of outings from a pitching standpoint?
Actually, we've seen it the last 4 outings, and it's one main thing. The slider is back, right? His favorite toy. And he talked about it himself earlier in the season. He said, look, I just didn't have my slider moving the way I wanted it to. It was acting more like a cutter instead of his, filthy put away slider. When it's going well, it has a lot of downward tilt to it, but just didn't have that tilt for the first 4 or 5 games. And he battled, he was doing everything he could to work with his other pitches and do the best he could without his number one weapon. But the last 4 games, I think we're really starting to see it. And I first started seeing it in Pittsburgh, and then, of course, in New York, it was absolutely amazing. And you're like, okay, he's back. And so I think that's been the biggest difference. A couple of mechanical changes for him has gotten that downward depth on the slider back. And when he has that, it helps set up his fastball that much, more effectively. And anytime when Dylan's got those 2 weapons going, anytime he goes out there, it's a possible no-hit type situation. Unfortunately, made a couple of mistakes yesterday that cost him. Pitched Guerrero Jr. for the solo home run, and then Santander for the 2-run home run. But other than that, I thought he looked really sharp. And yeah, to your point, it's the old Dylan Cease that we know and expect, the guy that can go out there and shut anybody down over the course of a ball game. And he threw a nice game yesterday. You 7 innings, you make a couple of mistakes. That's going to happen, but no run support, as we've already talked about. So, but good to see Dylan back out there with his number one weapon back in hand, which is that slider.
When talking about the offense again, the offensive philosophy of the Padres, a lot of line drive hitting, applying pressure, high contact team, high batting average team. But right now, obviously not a lot of slug, and a lot of fans are worried about the lack of home runs. I want to ask you from a pitching standpoint, what's more pressure to deal with from an offense that will continually put up hits and hit the gaps, or a team that's a ride or die via the long ball? From your experience pitching, who would you rather face?
I'd rather face the team that's more slug oriented, because generally I can pitch to those types of swing paths. I mean, normally the slug comes on mistakes, and they're going to do damage with it. So from a pitching perspective, I can go into a series and I know, okay, who are the slug guys that I have to worry about? What are the slug zones that I need to be leery of and stay away from? And I can control that as long as I'm making my pitches. So for me, I'd much rather face a lineup like that, because I'm not going to have a lot of pressure a lot of times, right? They're swinging from their tail. If I get 2 strikes, I got a good chance of putting them away. Oftentimes I can set them up, get early outs, just stay away from the hot zone. And, I can have some efficient innings and really not have to worry about a whole lot as long as I'm executing. Whereas, a lineup that's, I think the Padres are more geared towards is, okay, every guy that comes to that plate, he's going to be grinding me. He's going to be trying to put the ball opposite field. He's going to hit the ball where I'm pitching it. There's no one spot that I can consistently go to. The next thing you know, I got ahead of this guy 0-2, and now it's 3-2, and I've burned up 7 or 8 bullets to get this guy out. The next guy's going to work me as well. And by the time I get through a lineup, I'm already mentally and physically exhausted. Not that the damage necessarily, and the Padres do have the ability to, provide damage as well. It's not like, they don't have guys that can thump. Now, they haven't put up the big power numbers this year yet that we know will probably be there at the end of the year. But still, their approach is, we're going to work you. We're going to battle, even with 2 outs. And how many times have we seen it? When the Padre offense is going well, the first 2 guys make an out. The next thing you know, it's a walk. Next thing you know, it's a base hit through the right side. Next thing you know, then the damage comes, right? Because the inning is getting longer and the pitch count is going higher. And now you can turn a 2-out rally into, a game-winning inning for yourself. So that's my preference, Braden. I'd rather face a team that's just more slug-oriented, because I feel like they're more pitchable, as opposed to a team that can work counts, work at bats, make you grind, continuing to put the pressure on you, because eventually, usually that pressure is going to take a toll.
San Diego Padres broadcaster Bob Scanlan joining us on the Braden Surprenant show here on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan, up in Toronto, getting ready for the next Padres game that will start at 4:07 right here on the airwaves of 97.3 The Fan. Going back to the offense a little bit, and obviously they're going through a little bit of a down stretch. We've seen the pitching staff go through some highs and lows of a season. You played 9 big league seasons in Major League Baseball. You're calling games with Tony Gwynn Jr., played a long time in Major League Baseball as well. From your experience on teams, what for a lot of fans that like to overreact to every single game that happens, which will happen, the fans will do that. We get engaged emotionally watching our favorite ball club play. What's the mindset getting through the year, and how do you go about playing 162 when you go through slumps? How do you find your way out of it? Like, how do you monitor a full 162 game season where you don't get too high and you don't get too low?
Yeah, first of all, I don't want to make it seem like fans and players are dramatically different in that evaluation of wins and losses, right? Because I remember as a player, there are times where I'd have a bad outing and I was like, what the heck is going on there? I've got to change things right here, right now. It's not a thing of, oh, one bad outing, not a big deal, let's just move along. I mean, there's got to be a balance, to your point, right? It's 162. It's a marathon, not a sprint. And you can't allow your emotions to get too out of whack. Otherwise, every single day, you're going to be either riding high and riding low, and you just burn yourself out after a while. But at the same time, I don't want there to be a perception of players don't care. When you lose a game, there's a reason that the clubhouse is quiet. And I think a lot of guys are doing some contemplating. And there's always that balance, Braden, between, okay, I know it's one game and things didn't go well, either for the team or, let's say, for me personally. But at the same time, I need to nip this in the bud right here, right now, because one day can turn into two. 2 days can turn into 4 can turn into a week can turn into a couple of weeks. So there's never a complacency of, oh, it's just one bad game, not a big deal. You're still reflective about it and say, okay, what could I have done differently in my at bats? And you look at it, and maybe there's something you could have done differently. Maybe there's something, maybe there's not. Maybe it's just one of those days where, hey, you know what? I had a good approach. I was selective in what I was going after. I just got pitched really tough today, and I tip my cap, and let's go back out and get them tomorrow. Other times it's, you know what? I threw away an at bat right there. I chased after some bad pitches. I could have been much more selective. I put myself into some bad counts. So from the pitching perspective, I got the first 2 guys out, and then I started messing around. I thought I could start trying to mess around my curveball or whatever it was. Next thing I know, I issue a 2-out walk, and the inning starts to snowball. So, Braden, I guess my point is, I don't want people to think that there's a complacency thing of guys don't take it seriously when a game is lost. They do. They're out there to win every single game. And the challenge becomes, when do I need to make a change versus, okay, this was just one day and stick with my process. And I think for each guy, it's different. And that's part of the veteran approach. When you're early, when you're young, you have a tendency to be much more reactive, and sometimes not in a positive way. You start changing things that you really don't need to change. And as you become a veteran, you just have a little bit more stability about yourself and saying, okay, this is just part of the process, bad day, bad couple of days, whatever it may be, versus, okay, this is actually something I need to take a look at this and start making changes. So, and that's how you try to balance it through the course of 162. And I've heard some really interesting things from some guys in terms of breaking up a season into certain sections, right? Like I heard one hitter say he kind of looks at things in, what was it? He gave it a week at a time or 10 games at a time so that he wouldn't get too wrapped up in overreacting from one game to the next, and just look at, okay, over the last 10 days, what have I done? Am I still sticking to my process? So you try to break it up. You try to keep some balance within yourself of knowing that it is a long stretch, but at the same time, don't think that these guys don't take every game seriously, and that they're human beings, and you get to a little certain stretch and things can the pressure can get to you, but you got to try to balance that.
What's very difficult for athletes, and I experienced this as a coach at the high school level, is when the process is what you want the process to be and you're not getting results, it gets frustrating. For you, did you go through anything like that? And how were you able to, when you weren't getting the results, but you knew the process was right, sticking with the process? Because, the way the Padres are hitting offensively, in their philosophy, can't just scrap it and throw it out if you don't get the results. So for you, how are you able to in your career be able to continue with the process and try not to, drastically change what you might have been doing?
Yeah, it's a challenge. And I think part of it it comes down to being honest with yourself, right? In terms of, I guess I had a lesson for me was one time I came in out of the bullpen and Greg Maddux had started the game, and I came in and Doggy had a couple of guys on base, and I let him score, and I let his run score, and all of a sudden we're losing the game instead of winning. I blew the save. I let his run score, and I was totally upset with myself, understandably. So I come into the clubhouse afterwards, and I'm pissed off. I'm throwing my glove in my locker and my hat. I'm just, and Mad Dog's sitting there, and he's looking at me, and he goes, "What are you so upset about?" I said, "What are you talking about? What am I upset about? I let your runs in. We're now losing the game, And he's like, "Did you make your pitch?" I said, "What do you mean?" He goes, "Well, instead of getting upset over the results, ask yourself, did I make my pitch? Did I do the things that I needed to do and that I have control of in that situation?" He goes, "Because I was watching the game, and it looked to me like you executed your pitches. The first hit was a little jam shot ground ball through the right side. You had nothing to do with it. The next one was another ground ball through the left side on a pretty good slider that you threw." So him talking to me like that just gave me a real perspective and a reset of like, okay, here's a guy that could have very easily been upset with me about letting his runs in, but he was analytically looking at it and saying, okay, did you do your job? What can you control? That's what you need to focus on. Don't spend your time getting all upset at yourself over things that aren't realistic or out of your control. So little lessons like that along the way where I just sort of had to be honest with myself, even if things were going good, Braden. Like I might have come in and gotten guys out, but really looking at it, I got lucky. I threw a hanging slider right there I threw a sinker that was up in the zone, middle of the plate, and the guy just happened to pop it up or hit a line drive right at somebody. So part of it is just trying to be honest with yourself about what's really going on, and am I doing what I need to be doing, and sticking to that process like you talked about. And the Padres have enough experience and success with their processes that it's not a process issue. It's more of an individual just looking at, okay, in this particular moment, am I truly executing what my process is? If I am, okay, so be it, and let's keep going on, because eventually this is going to work out. If I'm not, then I have to check myself and be honest and say, okay, I've got to do a better job of that.
Oh, that's great insight. That's a great story. I really appreciate you telling us that. Last thing I have for you is I know you're getting ready for the broadcast this afternoon, at least on the West Coast, evening over there in Toronto. Randy Vasquez, he's put together a nice little season so far this year, and aside from one start or a couple starts you can't factor out of your ERA, he's been almost to an elite level. What has been the biggest difference that you've seen out of Vasquez in 2024 compared to Vasquez right now in 2025?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think Randy's done a really nice job. He's got the 3-3 record with a 3.45 earned run average, but I think it's in some ways been even better than that. When you look at his outings, 7 of his 9 outings, he's allowed 2 earned runs or less. So sort of to your point, there have been a couple where, some runs have crossed, but so what is he doing differently? The main thing is he's using his cutter more often and more effectively. Last year, he used that cutter about 14%, right? His number one pitch was his four-seam fastball. That's what he was going after guys with. He used that about 28% of the time. This year, the cutter is the pitch. And I think it's done 2 things. First of all, it's really helped him control the slug. He's only allowed 4 home runs, and 3 of those have come in his last 2 games. 2 of those came in Colorado, right? So, but prior to that, the first 6 or 7 outings of the season, he'd allowed 1 home run. So he'd done a great job of controlling big damage. He had a lot of soft contact. In fact, he was one of the league leaders in terms of the lowest exit velocity, and a lot of it had to do with the use of that cutter. He was doing a great job of staying inside on guys, the lefties, and staying off the barrels of the bat of the righties. And that segues into, I just mentioned lefties. He's done a great job of controlling left-handed batters this year better than he did last year. Last year, the lefties, they hit 365 off him. This year, they're hitting 274. Now, 274 is still higher than you want it to be, but he's almost cut it in half what they were doing against him last year. So he's just more effective to be able to manage a lineup. The challenge has been the walks, but again, in the last 2 outings, he's gotten control of that as well. Only 1 walk in his last 2 outings as well. So I just think we're continuing to see a young man learn himself, grow, working with Ruben Niebla and the pitching staff in terms of understanding what his stuff is, how to best use it. He's made a lot of changes, as we just talked about, in terms of what pitches he's using and how he's sequencing them. And I think that's what's allowing him to have the soft contact and success that he's had so far. Now that he's reducing the walks, it's making him even tougher. So looking for a good outing out of him tonight.
Bob, always great talking baseball with you. Always great insight. Love the story today about Maddox there, and I think it really applies to what the Padres might be going through right now over this 4-game stretch. Have a good call tonight, and we look forward to talking to you again.
Great, good talking with you. Thanks, buddy. Take care.
Bob Scanlan, Padres broadcaster, joining us from Toronto. Did a good job last night on the radio broadcast with Tony Gwynn Jr. with Don Orsillo doing the TBS game of the week yesterday. So big thanks to Bob Scanlan for joining us with some insight. Again, the process, we talk about that a lot just because Mike Schilt talks about it. Process over results. And sometimes you're not going to get the results that you want, but that doesn't mean your process is not working. I like the way that their offensive philosophy is. I mean, I saw some guy last night. I don't know why I'm tagging this tweet. He tagged like every media member of the tweet about how Victor Rodriguez has to go. Season is going down the tubes. What are you talking about, dude? It's a 4-game stretch. Again, like, it's not that the players don't care. It is understanding when you should be concerned and when you shouldn't be concerned. And you cannot overreact. When you think emotionally and you start overreacting because you're upset or because things aren't going your way, that's when bad things happen. Now, not down in the clubhouse every day. I don't know the eval, what they think of how they're going through their game plan. But Sometimes you go through your game plan, and as Bob Scanlan mentioned, you control what you can control, and sometimes it doesn't work. That doesn't mean the process isn't pure. That doesn't mean what you're doing is wrong. There's a lot of times that Padres have success where they're doing things incorrectly, at least to what their philosophy is. I see that all the time. I mean, I don't know how many times as a coach I've said to a kid after an interception or something, I'm glad you got the pick. Don't ever do that again. Because they royally messed up a situation that could have been catastrophically bad if it wasn't for the other team making a mistake, in which you're rewarded for it. Process over results. And right now, the Padres aren't getting the results, and they're not doing well with runners in scoring position. But watching them hit and watching their at-bats, aside from a little bit of pressing, they're hitting the ball hard. And right now, they're not getting the results that you would want. I mean, Jackson Merrill's in a little bit of a slump right now. I would imagine that's not going to last very long. But you know what? Top-heavy team, you never know what you're going to get. And if the top players in the top-heavy team don't do well, you're probably not going to do well. Hour in the books, hour number 2, starting up with Dylan Cease talk and some more offense talk as we come back on the Braden Surprenant Show, San Diego Sports Station, 97.3 The Fan. Hour number 2 of the Braden Surprenant Show on a Wednesday. Trying to put lipstick on a pig with some of the offense that we have here in San Diego. Or lack thereof. I'm not worried about it. I'm not concerned. I will be concerned maybe Friday or Saturday if they continue to not score any runs. But overall, I think their process is fine. I like the way that they play their offense and their style of offense. It's going to win them more games than not, but it's not going to be foolproof. You're not going to see like it's just an unbeatable team the entire year. And every team in baseball is going to go through multiple slumps. You just hope that you can play your way out of it, as Mike Schilt said. We'll talk more about the offense in just a little bit. Is this lineup too dependent on the core? Will be our topic of discussion at 11:15. At 11:30, Eric Lauer, Toronto Blue Jays starting pitcher, will join the show. An interesting career for Eric Lauer. We won't see him this week in Toronto. So first-round draft pick of the San Diego Padres, 25th overall selection in the 2016 MLB draft. Came up through the system, pitched for the Padres for a decent amount of years, really a couple of years. Went on to Milwaukee, then pitched in Pittsburgh, Houston all last year. Ended up pitching for the Kia Tigers in the KBO, and now back in Toronto. Began the year with the AAA Buffalo Bisons. He was 1-3 with a 4.50 ERA, 21 strikeouts in his first 5 starts. And just recently, on April 30th, Blue Jays selected Lauer's contract, adding him to their active roster. What a story about him coming back. We'll see how he does in the next couple of weeks or so, but he will be joining us coming up at 11:30. I did interview him in 2019, beginning of 2019, I think, where he was part of the everyday lineup, the everyday starting rotation. Did he start opening day for the Padres? I think he did. In 2019.
Yeah, I think he might have done. That would have been his year had he done it.
Padres 2019 opening day roster, opening day lineup, opening day starters. 2019. Eric Lauer was your starting pitcher. Here's the lineup the Padres rolled out against the Giants. First game at Tatis, by the way. They won 2-0 as Lauer outdueled Madison Bumgarner on that day. Your lineup was, here's your, just based on position players, not batting order. Austin Hedges was catching. Eric Hosmer was at first base. Ian Kinsler was at second. Manny Machado was at third. Fernando Tatis was at shortstop. Will Myers in left field. Manuel Margot in center field. Franmil Reyes in right field. Starting pitcher was Eric Lauer. So we'll talk with Eric Lauer coming up at 11:30. Dylan Cease starting to turn things around a little bit. Before the Yankees series, Dylan Cease in 7 starts, 1-2 with a 5.61 ERA. Opponents hit 285 against him. 23 runs, 21 of them earned, 39 strikeouts, 15 walks. Since the Yankees series, 3 games started, 0-1, unfortunately for him. 3.53 ERA, 0.86 opponent batting average. 0.86 opponent batting average. That's pretty remarkable. 6 runs, all earned, 25 strikeouts, 4 walks. Despite Dylan Cease being 1-3 on the year. This is why wins and losses as a pitcher is dumb. Padres are 6-3 in his starts. They relatively do pretty well when Dylan Cease starts games. Took a loss last night, didn't get any run support, not necessarily Cease's fault. What has Mike Schilt seen out of Dylan Cease recent performance? Here's Mike Schilt talking about Dylan Cease in his couple recent outings that he has had compared to what he did last night, obviously.
Yeah, I think Dylan's in a really good spot. He's always, again, he's not a guy that is going to ride too high. He has high expectations. I honestly believe that he pretty much expects a no-hitter every time he goes out. If things don't work out as well, he's more like, okay, what do I need to do different or better? But knowing he also knows it's short term, just like our offense. Things happen in the short term. But what we're seeing is Dylan Cease, being who he is at his best, and that's really good. And the body language is great, the attack's good, the life's good, the slider's outstanding. So he's in a really good spot for us.
He's in a contract year. Michael King is in a contract year. I'd be really curious to see what the Padres decide to do. I don't know if the Padres can afford one of the two. I don't know if they can afford both of them. I don't know if they can afford either of them. But the question will still be asked, would you sign Cease to an extension based on this season so far? I don't necessarily know I'm willing to give the money that would be necessary to keep Dylan Cease long term based on what he has done this season. I think he's a very good pitcher. I don't necessarily know if he's still an ace level pitcher. At least in a Padres uniform, I think you can argue that he hasn't been that sort of pitcher. He did throw a no-hitter. I mean, he's not like he's bad. But the amount of money that he will probably get on the open market, especially with the fact that there's not a lot of pitchers out there usually on the open market, especially since elite pitchers or high-end players at the top of rotations are always getting way more than they probably should. I mean, you're looking at players like Sean Manaea getting over $20 million a year. Are you going to give Dylan Cease like $30 to $35 million a year for what he's doing? I mean, some of it is the price of doing business. Some of it is maybe we could get that kind of level of pitching out of maybe some of our younger players. But I think it would be very much a reach to think that Randy Vasquez could get to Dylan Cease level. So it's an interesting topic of discussion. And I think it all depends on basically how much money the Padres have and how much they're willing to spend. If they can afford to have both Cease and King, I'd keep Cease and King. If I had to pick between the two, I'd go with Michael King. I think there's more upside with Michael King than Dylan Cease. If you're trying to improve your starting rotation for the future and you're willing to spend money, I mean, if it's going to come down to him or maybe another player that might be on the open market that might be a little bit cheaper, I'll probably go with the cheaper option. I don't know if I can stomach giving him like $35 million a year. I could do that with Michael King. I don't know if I could do it with Dylan Cease. Would you sign Cease to an extension based on the season so far? I'd have to see a little bit more in order to do that, especially with what pitchers are getting right now. I mean, pitchers are getting a lot of money. Should they? Should they not? Not necessarily the topic of discussion. The topic of discussion is whether or not you would give a guy like Dylan Cease $35 million a year. I don't really think there's a lot of those players out there anymore. But it is the price of doing business. Let's take a look at last year's starting pitchers. On the open market, last year's starting pitchers and what they got. Corbin Burnes was number one on the list. He hasn't really been that great for Arizona. He got a 6-year, $210 million contract, $33 million a year. Is Dylan Cease better than Corbin Burnes? Corbin Burnes, at the time of signing, 30 years old. I think Dylan Cease is a little bit older than that, if I'm not mistaken. I have to look up his age real quick. And that's usually when my computer decides not to work. Dylan Cease is 29. So around the same. You giving Dylan Cease $33 million a year? Is he worth that kind of level pitcher? I mean, it hasn't really worked out for Arizona so far with Corbin Burns. I think it'd take a little time. Next on the list was Yusei Kikuchi, signed with the Angels. 3 years, $63 million, $21 million a year for Kikuchi. If I just look at what they got AAV-wise last year, top players signed, Corbin Burns, $33 million, Blake Snell, $31 million a year, Max Fried, $27 million, Nathan Eovaldi, $25 million, and Luis Severino, $22 million. Ages 30, 32, 31, 35, 31. The youngest guy that got a contract last year as a starting pitcher, well, there's two on there. One was Patrick Sandoval at age 28. He signed for $9.1 million. Cease is better than that. The other one at age 29 was Jack Flaherty. Jack Flaherty signed for $22 million a year. I think Dylan Cease is somewhere in between. Are we thinking 30-something million dollars gets it done? I don't know if the Padres have that kind of money. I'd rather give that to Michael King than Dylan Cease. So I don't know if I'd sign Cease to a contract extension. What do you think? 833-288-0973. 833-288-0973. Is the Padres' flaw offensively their philosophy or the fact that they're very much top-heavy? Is it too dependent on the core? We'll answer that question when we come back on the Braden Surprenant Show on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. The Sour 97 to the fans brought to you by Frozen Ropes San Diego. Hey, parents, here's a message from Coach Kurt with Frozen Ropes. Is your child 6 to 12 years old? Our baseball summer league is the perfect fit for your players starting June 16th through August 17th. Summer league includes 8 practices, 8 games. Go to SanDiegoFrozenRopes.com. That's SanDiegoFrozenRopes.com. Coming up in the next segment, we're going to have former Padre and current Toronto Blue Jay talk about his journey in Major League Baseball. Eric Lauer will join the show coming up at 11:35. Before that, we do want to talk a little bit more about this Padres offense. Get your take on the Dylan Cease conversation we had earlier. 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. I didn't even want to talk about the trade proposal that was thrown in the YouTube chat. Would never happen.
So you decided to not talk about it by bringing it up.
Maybe it's a tease, Frank. Come on, buddy. Maybe it's a tease. Maybe I'll talk about it at noon.
Too literal for this
maybe,
job.
Maybe you know what? But that's where the sarcastic, comedic relief is, and that's what we like. That and the mic swing. I think Go Aztecs on Twitch just got excited right there.
So you only like me because I'm a dope and I know how to swing a mic? Okay.
No.
Okay, I see how this goes now.
No. The only one calling himself a dope is you. Nobody calls you a dope.
Well, no, I am a dope, but anyway.
I digress. Not into cliffhangers. Go Aztecs can't see the chat because it's on YouTube. Maybe I should turn the chat on.
No, we saw some stuff in the chat before. That's why we turned it off.
Nice. Good call. 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. Susie in Kensington. You're batting leadoff on the Braden Surprenant show. What's going on, Susie?
Hey, batting leadoff. I'm doing well. How are you, Braden?
I'm doing well. What do you got for me today?
I love your show. I love your edge. It's really fun. There is no way I would sign Dylan Cease, but I sure as heck would sign Michael King. That guy is our future ace, and he's amazing. I had the displeasure of watching Cease in Sacramento. Good Lord. I mean, I know the pitchers have off days. It was like the worst pitching performance I've ever seen in my life. But you know what? Is our guy. You've got to sign him. You know, I just really think he's going to anchor it with Musgrove. And I wanted to say, Padre fans, let's keep the faith. Slump Diego's going to go away, and we're going to get back to it. It just takes one game. So my Padre flag's flying in front of my house.
Well, I love to hear that, Susie. Thanks again. We like to bring the edge. USD Baseball, Edge Sunday. Got to bring the edge. They got an Edge Day tomorrow. The Toreros do. Right now, actually, starting up at 2 o'clock, will be the beginning of the West Coast Conference tournaments. A couple results today. USD will play tomorrow at 2 o'clock against the lowest advancing seed. Toreros need to win 3, maybe 4 games to go to the NCAA tournament. Aztecs play today, correct, Frank? I think we talked about that.
Yes, the Aztecs do play today. I'll take a look and see if they're going now.
Do they play during our show? We have to give updates on that. Those are the 2 college baseball teams still alive. Our college softball teams have been eliminated from contention.
I'll take a look and get back to you.
All right, well, thank you. 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. Did Susie just coin the phrase slump Diego, or has that been trending on social media? That's rough, dude. That's rough. Slump Diego. I like Slam Diego a little bit better than Slump Diego.
First pitch between San Diego State and UNLV tonight, 6:05.
All right. I will let the Aztec baseball alum that are on after us talk more about that. We'll have the recap tomorrow. Hopefully the Aztecs can win. Go Aztecs question. Dumb question for regionals. Has the conference realignment affected that like the old Pac-12 teams? What's your question? Like in terms of like the regionals? I mean, a lot of the regionals are set up with more West Coast teams because the Pac-12 teams are now in the same potential region because Arizona's in the Big 12 and UCLA's in the Big 10 and Washington State and Oregon State aren't. Well, Oregon State will make the tournament because they're independent now. Washington State didn't even qualify for the Mountain West baseball tournament. Anyway, 833-288-0973. We'll have more college baseball tomorrow. 833-288-0973. Steve in San Diego, you're on the Braden Surprenant show. What's going on, Steve?
Yeah, just listening to your discussion, and I agree with you absolutely that Michael King to me is the preferred pitcher. I just like that Greg Maddux style of pitching. I think long term there's less wear and tear on the arm than somebody like Dylan Cease who has to throw hard. I just don't believe that he is at that level that we could really call him an elite pitcher. Sorry, maybe that's blasphemy, but I just don't see it. In terms of our lineup, yeah, we're top heavy, and if we don't have the top four guys in some combination, at least two firing on any given evening, we're in trouble. So that's what I see.
Yeah, Steve, appreciate the phone call. That's the case for a lot of teams. There's not a lot of rosters out there that are solid 1 through 9. There's not a lot of rosters out there that are solid 1 through 6, let alone 1 through 7. But that being said, a lot of teams are dealing with the same problem. It's 100% right. When you are all or nothing in the top part and you're a top-heavy roster, they don't perform, probably not going to win. Because now you're relying on Jason Hayward and you're relying on Elias Diaz or Martin Maldonado. You're relying on Tyler Wade. You're relying on a lot of players that are kind of spot starters. That's what you're relying on. I mean, you've got a lot out of Gavin Sheets, more than you would expect. But those are the players that would have to carry you when the top half doesn't do well. And you're hoping that when players in the top half of the offense don't do well, you're hoping it's not multiple of them. And right now it's multiple. Hence why you're not scoring any runs. 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. Brandon in Carlsbad's usually here to fire me up. What's going on, Brandon?
Oh, Big Braden. What's up, Big B? Hey, man, check this out. We all know that Slumpy Dumpy sat on a wall, but guess what? Slumpy Dumpy had a great fall. So those that aren't faithful, just sell your tickets to somebody who is, like myself, and we're going to get out of this. We have the coaching staff. We have the skipper, and I see other teams going through this right now. It's a streaky game. We all know that. You don't have to be a baseball nerd to know that it's a streaky game. I do agree with what you just said, though. We are top heavy, so we need to start percolating that balance at the end, brother. But I'm always fired up, man. It's another day. We're going to have another great ball game. Brandon, thanks for my call.
Absolutely, Brandon. Slumpy Dumpy had a great fall. First place for call of the day, Brandon in Carlsbad. Jim Rome's got the I don't like that call. We need I like that call. We need to figure out some sounder, Frank, where good calls, you give them points almost like around the horn. Bad calls, get rid of them. Something to work on for us.
Good thing we got a couple weeks.
Yeah, so we'll figure it out. I like it. We have the fouls, actually. Fouls are not bad. Frank he's more of a conservative, not giving out a lot of fouls, letting the guys play, letting the guys and girls play a little bit. But I we might have to tighten some things up. Start handing out fouls to everybody. Kevin in Chula Vista. A lot of people always want to give him a foul. I appreciate his time. What do we got today, Kevin?
Well, I don't know about that, Braden. I just think that some people want to be cheerleaders and some people don't want to be cheerleaders, and that's okay. There's plenty of room on the express wagon for everybody here. So rather than casting aspersions on what people say, I prefer to listen and try to learn a little bit. So having said that, a couple of things for you. Yeah, I appreciate what you said on Dylan Cease. The bigger question is, if you were to sign Cease and King, that's a whole lot of payroll to get usurped in two guys. And that doesn't leave you much left over to fill a lot of gaping holes that you have now. So you want to keep that in mind in terms of priorities. Secondly, the only statistic that I'm looking at right now that means anything, and I don't care, we can psychobabble all day long about statistics and analytics and all this other stuff. They're 13-16 since, April 15th. And that's a trend line. That's a significant trend line for whatever reason. I know there's all sorts of reasons and excuses and yada yada. All teams go through this, that, and the other thing. But the fact of the matter is they're 13-16, and a trend that needs to get reversed real soon here. It's not a good trend that they're in, and that's what I'm looking at. And then the last point I want to get back to you, old business. You know, we've argued a lot, respectively, about the Juan Soto situation here and how much we gave up. The fact of the matter, the point is not how much we gave up, but you've emptied out what were tradable pieces later on when we now need those to fill positions, to fill gaping holes that we have. And so it's not about whether or not C.J. Abrams would have performed here or McKinnon. We'll never know that because they traded him off. But the problem is that you've got a farm system now that by all accounts is not rated very high, does not have a lot of talent there, and has a history of not being able to develop frontline, legitimate major league ball players, whether it's pitching or the fielders, batters in the lineup. This is the trend line that's also disturbing, at least in my view of things. So I thought I'd leave that with you and keep up the good work. And I love Frank. Welcome, Frank. We've not had a chance to formally welcome you. Glad that you're here, and keep up the good work, guys.
Thank you very much, Kevin. He's just trying to grease you up, dude, so you put him through every time.
Might work.
You should have seen Frank's reaction. Just parked up immediately. Kevin, a lot of great things that you said there. We'll address some of it when we come back. We also will have Eric Lauer joining us on the Braden Surprenant Show on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97 through the Fan. 11:35 on a Wednesday morning out here in Southern California. I'm Braden Surprenant. It's the Braden Surprenant Show for Frank Marchese. We are now joined by actually what was my first ever active Major League Baseball player interview when he spent time with the San Diego Padres. That was back in 2019. First round draft pick out of college by the San Diego Padres. He is been inducted into the Kent State Athletic Hall of Fame last season. He is now currently a member of the Toronto Blue Jays, who actually drafted him out of high school in the 17th round of the 2013 MLB draft. He's had a very remarkable but also fun story playing professional baseball that we're going to dive a little bit more into. My guest, Eric Lauer, joining the show. Eric, what's going on, man? How's your Wednesday going?
So far, so good.
Thanks again for joining us. I don't know if you remember that, but back in 2019, and you've probably been interviewed many of the time, I sat down with you in the dugout at Petco Park, and we talked about the Padres rotation, you being in the big leagues now, and I think I asked you a question about your favorite Will Ferrell movie in which you quoted something from Talladega Nights. If you remember that, great. If not, it's not a big deal, but wanted to throw that out there if that it sparked your memory at all.
No, I don't think I can remember that far back. That's a few years ago.
Eric, since becoming a Padre, you've gone on to play for a couple of teams now with Toronto. I want to talk a little bit about, kind of where you started and everything. You grew up in Ohio. You were committed to Kentucky. You ended up going to Kent State. What was your decision-making out of high school when you decided to flip to Kent State and be a little bit more local than going to Kentucky?
Yeah, I mean, Kentucky, the big draw was, it's big SEC baseball. It's best competition. But I think for me, it was more, where was I going to be the most comfortable to be able to get the most out of my college career. So I thought being a little closer to home, having my parents be able to come watch me play. And I mean, either way, Kent State had probably what I would consider the best pitching coach in the country in Mike Birkbeck. So that played into it quite a bit. And I think just Kent State had a good hometown kind of feel for me. So it felt like it would be a really easy transition to use college as kind of a stepping stone that I wanted to use it as to eventually get to pro ball.
You get drafted by the Padres in the first round, 25th overall selection, which is a great achievement. You go through the minor leagues here in San Diego, and you had some ups, you had some downs. You got to start an opening day. I mean, all the positives, maybe the negatives. What was the biggest? What did you learn most during your time with the Padres?
I think because it was my first couple years in the league, that it really just taught me kind of what it takes to be a big leaguer and to actually have the staying power in the big leagues. So guys talk about it a lot of getting to the big leagues is kind of the easy part. It's staying in the big leagues that's the hard part. So just with my last few years of struggles and everything and finally being back, I think it's given me a new appreciation for, what it takes to be here long term.
We're talking with Eric Lauer, Toronto Blue Jays starting pitcher, former Padre, joining us on the Braden Surprenant Show. You end up getting traded to Milwaukee, probably the first time that had been around for you. I mean, what was that experience like? And, I'm sure it was maybe a negative at first, but how did you spin that into a positive opportunity with the Brewers?
Yeah, it was definitely a weird thought when I got the news, because I got the news the day I was heading on vacation to Hawaii, so I was kind of in a weird spot. I was like, okay, just don't tell them to call me for a week because I'm going on vacation. But it was cool. I mean, obviously, I love San Diego. I wanted to stay in San Diego for my whole career if I could. But I mean, being in the game, that's part of it, and it's nothing personal, but it is a little disheartening to hear that your team doesn't want you anymore, but a new team does. So it's a lot of mixed emotions on being traded.
You had a pretty wild 2024. Multiple teams. You end up going to Korea for a little bit, and then in December you sign with the Blue Jays, and in between you get an honor from your university, which we'll talk about. But what was when you had the opportunity to go to the KBO and you bet on yourself for another opportunity? How difficult of a decision was that for you, and what did you get out of that experience that you think has helped you, get that contract with the Blue Jays as you signed during the offseason?
Yeah, I mean, it was a really hard decision, actually, because at the end, when I ended up going over there last year, was kind of at a time where I felt like, oh, okay, I was starting to figure it out again, starting to get back to kind of who I was in pitching. And on top of all that, me and my wife had just found out that we were pregnant with our first child. So we were trying to figure out, like, oh, is going to Korea the best option here? Would I have to go back the following year? And I mean, going over there was an amazing experience. I always thought at some point in my career I'd like to go over and play baseball overseas just to experience a different culture in baseball. And I mean, I'm super grateful that I got the opportunity to go. And I think that it's a cool way of kind of getting outside of the MLB and baseball in the States, because you get a chance to go see different competition and, kind of rework things and just grow as a player in a way that you might not get the opportunity to in affiliated baseball. So it was a really awesome experience. I mean, I think a lot of guys are kind of using it now as, okay, I've struggled for a little bit. Let me go kind of hit a reset, play some good competition, and then see if I can make a run back at it. And I mean, I think that's exactly kind of the route that I took. Was I'm going to go over there, kind of have a reset, be able to work on some things, work on myself, and hopefully make another run at it in the big leagues.
Eric, there's a lot of people in life that don't take that chance, and they don't want to be that bold decision to go bet on themselves, not just in baseball, but just in all aspects of life. What kind of advice would you might have to anybody driving around listening that hasn't been able to take that leap, just from your experience of taking that leap, betting on yourself, and what it's done for you since you decided to go to Korea?
Oh, I mean, it's been huge for me because it did give me the chance to get a different perspective, kind of get outside of the stress that comes along with baseball. It's a very, very tough job, and just all the moving, the travel, the stress that comes along with performance. It's a little easier. It's a little easier not to get stressed when you can't understand anybody. I thought that was a nice change of pace. But I mean, as far as betting on yourself, I feel like at some point there's times where it's the right decision to bet on yourself. There's times where you're kind of forced into it. And I think you should always bet on yourself. You should always bet on your own drive, your own work ethic. And a lot of it's just the belief that things will work out. And I mean, it's really easy to just be negative all the time and just not want to take that leap of faith just because there are possible negatives to it. But I mean, in the long run, I'd rather take the chance and look back and say, you know what, I did everything that I possibly could to be where I wanted to be, rather than looking back and saying, well, if I would have went over there, maybe things would have worked out differently, or if I would have done this, maybe things would. My whole thing is that I don't want to look back and regret any of the effort that I put in. I don't want to regret anything that I didn't do that could have helped me. So I think that's the biggest thing is just, I think betting on yourself is a very positive thing. And too many people look at it as a negative because of the possibility of a negative outcome. But I mean, you gotta take risks. That's life. That's what makes life fun, is taking the risk and betting on yourself every once in a while.
Toronto Blue Jays starter Eric Lauer joining us on the Braden Surprenant Show, former Padre, obviously. Mixed through all of that, you had a great career at Kent State, and they inducted you into the Athletic Hall of Fame. What kind of experience was that like for you, going back and getting that kind of honor?
Yeah, I mean, it was really cool. I wasn't able to actually go back for the ceremony because it was 2 weeks before our son was due. So I didn't end up getting to go back and experience it, but I was talking to the committee and stuff, and they said that we could come back at a different time and have like a little ceremony or something. But I mean, just to be inducted and to be with the group of people that was put in for the year, just a huge honor. I mean, it's nice to be recognized for, you know, what you do and the results you get every once in a while. But I mean, it's something that you look back on and you're proud of, but like in the moment, you're not reaching for those things. You're not thinking, oh, I can get in the Hall of Fame anywhere. So, I mean, it's an honor, and it's awesome to, you know, kind of be there and be in the Hall forever. But I don't think Hall of Fames and stuff are the goal. I think they're good byproducts of just the amount of work and effort you put in.
You made it back to the big leagues. You're with the Toronto Blue Jays, kind of full circle. They drafted you out of high school. You ended up going to college, obviously, as we talked about. What are your goals for this year, your second stint now in the major leagues and a new opportunity with Toronto?
I think it's really just to get back to, you know, pitching the way that I know I can, using all my pitches. I think I've added a few things over the years that I think are going to help me, pitch mix wise, and you know, I just go out there every time they call my name and put up some zeros. That's really as simple as it can get, and that's as simple as I want to keep it. Like, I'm not trying to do too much out there. I'm not trying to go crazy with stats or anything, but I mean, the more zeros I can put up, the better it's going to be. So that's the goal.
Last thing for you, Eric. What's it like being a father?
Oh, it's different. It is. I've never. I mean, you always hear the old sayings of, oh, it'll be, you'll understand when you're a father, or you'll understand when it's your kid, and I mean, it's incredibly true. I never knew that I could love another human being so much. I never thought that I would just be in awe of everything that he does. So it really gives you a whole new perspective on life and kind of what you're doing it for. And I think that's another just driving factor for me now, is that, you know, I have a family to support, and like, this is how I'm going to support him. And I want him to be able to enjoy and remember being part of my career. So hopefully I can play long enough to where he'll be old enough to remember a little bit of it. But, you know, everything definitely does change, and it's all good. I love it.
Eric, we really appreciate you taking the time, man. It's great to see that you're having success. You bet on yourself, continued success. Good luck the rest of the year, and we'll hopefully talk to you again.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
Eric Lauer, Toronto Blue Jays starter, joining us, former San Diego Padre. Pretty cool of him. An interesting story. I mean, it's a lot of players have been doing that. You know, we have Kyle Hart here in San Diego that bet on himself in overseas in the KBO and came back and got an opportunity. And, you know, it's the guys you want to root for. I mean, it's a difficult game, and not everybody's going to have the same experience that you see with a lot of the stars, you know, at that level. You know, I think a lot of things happen with Eric Lauer in his career and with the San Diego Padres. I think being part of the Padres at the time gave him an opportunity to get to the big leagues a lot faster. He learned very quickly how difficult it is to pitch at the big leagues. He had to go through the emotions of getting traded from the team that drafted him 25th overall, and in the first round, trying to make a positive out of that with Milwaukee. Played on 3 different teams in 2 different leagues last year in 2024, and then was able to get an opportunity with the Blue Jays this year. Just got recently pulled up on April 30th. So continued success for Eric Lauer. Really appreciate him. We have time in 5 minutes to get to the sports thread. No, Frank says no. But anyway, good conversation with Eric Lauer. We'll get to the sports thread as we start the noon hour on 97.3 The Fan. And since we're going to do the sports thread in the noon hour, let's talk about some of the Padres pitchers that are going on rehab outings. Matt Waldron and Waldron Hoeing have joined at AA San Antonio. Waldron, 2 innings, 3 hits, 1 run, 2 strikeouts, 2 walks through 47 pitches and 26 strikes. Waldron Hoeing threw an inning. This is the first time in Waldron Hoeing's rehab assignment he hasn't allowed a run. So 1 inning, no runs, no hits, 1 strikeout. It's good to see him coming back to form. He threw 12 pitches, 7 for strikes. So now the question is, what kind of role do these players have for the San Diego Padres in 2025? Padres pitching staff's been pretty good. I mean, the starting rotation's been great. The bullpen, even though it went through a little bit of a slide there 2 weeks ago, is starting to come back to form. They've been very good this year. To add another piece like Hoeing to the bullpen, and maybe Waldron as part of that group of potential starters with Kolek and Vasquez and Hart. And again, I said at the beginning of the year, I think you're going to go through spurts where you're going to see some of those guys. They're not going to always be great. But I think you're going to have spurts where sometimes they're good. Use them in the rotation for a couple times through. Next guy up, next turn. So for Waldron, he only plays as a starter anyway. He's not a bullpen guy. So for me, he's going to be in that rotation mix, and I think he's going to get some opportunities and then back down to AAA. Rotating with guys like Stephen Kolek and then back down to AAA. Kyle Hart and then back down to AAA. I think Randy Vasquez has pitched his way into the starting rotation where you can't bring him back down. And I also don't think, with the amount of time you have spent with these guys being starters, that you can move somebody back into the bullpen. I don't think Waldron's stuff plays in the bullpen as a knuckleball pitcher. I don't think Kyle Hart's stuff plays in the bullpen with only a 1 elite pitch either. I don't think Stephen Kolek could go back to the bullpen, even though his stuff plays in the pen and he has had success in the bullpen. You invested a lot of time and effort into getting this guy into being a starting pitcher. And so with all of that, you don't want to just drop it and quit on it. He needs to be able to continue to grow as a starting pitcher and log innings. So minor leagues probably more so than the bullpen. Again, you have bullpen help coming in Waldron Hoeing. And we haven't even talked about Yu Darvish yet. Yu is expected to be back relatively soon. So you add Yu to the rotation. I think you leave Vasquez in. Vasquez starting tonight against the Blue Jays. We talked with Bob Scanlan earlier today about Randy Vasquez. He's talking about that cutter he's throwing. I think Randy Vasquez is doing a good job. Now, his whiff rate's not super high, but he's pitching to contact. There's multiple ways to get guys out. Pitching to contact's one of them. I like to quote Randy Jones on that all the time. Randy Jones had the saying, these players and these hitters that end up going to the Hall of Fame will fail 70% of the time. Let them. And I think Randy Vasquez does that. Pitch to contact, get guys out. It's not always strikeout pitches. Even though it's nice, I think a lot of people like to pad their stats. The same thing I think offensively. You know, Randy Vasquez is pitching more traditional, just getting guys out, getting the ground ball that they need, getting the fly ball he needs, letting guys get themselves out, just as much as the offense is playing some old school baseball of putting the ball in play and line drive hitting. We've talked about the offense a little bit earlier in the show, and we're going to continue to talk about the offense later on. You know, I had to ask Bob Scanlan the question because a lot of pitchers have the same philosophy, and they understand it is way more difficult to get teams out that are high average teams that hit line drives. It's way more difficult to get a guy out like Tony Gwynn than it is to get out a player that is boom or bust on home run and slug. And you heard Scan talk about it. If you missed any of those interviews, you can catch them back on the Odyssey app rewind function. You can also check it out wherever you get your podcasts. All of our stuff is posted in podcast form. Frank Marchese does a good job in getting that done. When we come back, some trending stories in sports and an interesting Power 4 conversation in college football as part of our sports thread as we roll on into lunchtime hour on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
To fire it up. From the beaches to the ballparks, from the Gaslamp to North County, no one knows America's finest city like he does.
You can't just punt on a Manny Machado prime use.
He's a fourth-generation San Diegan, born and raised in the heart of this community. Passionate, opinionated, and always bringing you the real talk on your teams, your city, and everything in between.
Braden totally knows his stuff. He's ready for the next step. That guy is good.
Live and local, it's the Braden Surprenant Show.
But I think Braden's one of the up-and-coming young stars in the media game in San Diego.
Now, here's your host, Braden Surprenant.
Lunchtime hour on the Fan. This hour on 97 to the Fan brought to you by City Cruises. Set sail with Randy Hauser as he lights up the bay for an exclusive concert cruise like no other. Join us Friday, May 23rd with City Cruises live in San Diego for an epic night of country music, dinner, drinks, and skyline views. Get tickets now at citycruises.com/live. Talking a lot of Padres baseball on this show, as we always do. But we do got to mix in some other sports. And what's trending in sports with today's sports thread. Here's Frank.
You know that group chat? The one that's always blowing up with the biggest sports takes, debates, and breaking news?
You got barbecue back there, and you didn't invite me?
Yeah, we've got that too. Welcome to the Sports Thread, where we break down the top 5 stories in sports, just like you would with your crew.
Oh, no! Disaster! What a bad idea!
No filters, no silence, just real talk.
That's Frank. I think we need to get that soundbite from Cars. Remember that scene?
No.
Frank's the name of the tractor.
Oh, yes.
And Mater goes, that's Frank.
Yep.
Takes off.
And then we'll immediately, right after that hits, we'll begin with...
Number 1.
The Power 4 conference leaders are colluding together, and it could mean the conferences could change quite a bit over the next few years. Power 4 leaders are circulating a document that would, quote, radically transform rules enforcement in college football. The contract would create the College Sports Commission that would effectively split college football as we know it. Power 4 schools that refuse to sign this document would run the risk of being expelled from their conferences and could see schools who are a part of the CSC refuse to play them in upcoming seasons. The CSC would look to create legitimate enforcement power that would make schools subject to decisions by a, quote, NIL clearinghouse, which would judge whether outside NIL contracts represent true market value. It would also require all Power 4 schools to comply with the upcoming House versus NCAA lawsuit, which would allow direct pay for play for the first time in history. This document was born out of legal complications at the state level, notably Tennessee. There's a lot to dive into here, and I think we said we're going to dive into it more on Friday. But all of this is coming out quickly. At a glance, though, it looks like the Power 4 conferences are trying to set themselves apart from the NCAA.
Yeah, they just want to. College football wants to go be college football by themselves, and they're going to do their own thing. It sounds like I think they want to put in a CEO. What it sounds like, and as long as it's not just the Big Ten and the SEC, as a Big 12 fan, I hope they're included in it.
They are,
but hopefully, hopefully, this will lead to football breaking off from the rest of everything else, and you might get some conferences back that make sense for all the other sports. Now, here's the problem with a lot of this stuff, and I think this is coming. In fact, Kirby Smart mentioned this when asked about. He doesn't want to. This is what Kirby Smart said the other day. He doesn't want freshmen to get paid more than seniors, and he doesn't want schools to have to shred sports. Other than that, he doesn't care what they decide to do. I think that's legitimate, right? I think that's legitimate stuff to have as a head coach. But you look at the way this is laying out, this is what they asked for. And they're becoming professionals now. And with all of these rules that they're putting in place, they're going to put in rules to make it competitive, which means they're probably not going to be able to transfer wherever they want. They're not going to be able to do a lot of the things that they were hoping that gave them all the power, a lot of these players. And you're going to see the consequences to the actions. And a lot of it might be then the result of dropping sports that are not revenue generating sports. So this is very interesting. We could talk about this more on Friday. Any type of report from Ross Dellinger is usually like a booklet long, so we're going to have time to break it down. But it's very interesting to say. And as we talked about off air, there's some schools that might not be able to opt into it based on state rules that they have, state laws in their own states. And all of a sudden, you might have some power schools not being power schools anymore. It's going to drastically change the college football landscape, which will then trickle down, domino effect, affect everything else in college athletics.
And this is, again, you said this is what they asked for. This is not what we asked for.
No, it's what the players asked for. It's not what the fans asked for.
We asked for these players to get reimbursed for their image, name, and likeness. We asked that merch sales with their name face on it, they got paid for that. That's what we asked for. We didn't ask for an effective free agency. We didn't ask for effective salaries that would be competitive with NFL salaries. We wanted these kids to get a cut of the pie. That's all we asked for. We didn't ask for any of this. This is just absurd. And again, as I mentioned, the state mostly in question is Tennessee. I could 100% see Vandy possibly getting kicked out of the SEC. They'd have a very fun time in the Sun Belt. They would run through the Sun Belt, no problem.
Until they don't get funding anymore because they're not in the SEC.
There is no shot that Tennessee is not in the SEC. There is no shot that Penn State, Ohio State, Michigan get kicked out of the Big Ten. There is no shot that any of that happens. So to say you're going to expel schools from the conference is just, that's a hollow threat to me.
It's only a matter of time. And again, these are the consequences. When you want to play big boy games with all these rules in place, this is what you get. You're now they're pros now. They're now getting treated as such.
Play stupid games, win stupid prizes.
That's right.
Number 2.
Earlier this month, we were closely following the story of Pittsburgh Pirates fan Kevin Markwood, who fell from the Clemente wall during a Pirates-Cubs game on April 30th. When we last left the story, the Pirates' internal investigation ruled the incident as an accident, and Markwood was starting to take his first steps. There has been an update since, and criminal charges have been filed. 21-year-old Ethan Kirkwood was arrested yesterday on misdemeanor charges of furnishing alcohol to a minor. Kirkwood has a preliminary hearing on June 23rd in McKeesport, Pennsylvania. Kirkwood admitted to buying Markwood. There's a lot of woods in this story. The alcohol, as well as it was captured on CCTV at PNC Park. Should Kirkwood have done what he did? Absolutely not. But how hard can you really throw the book at this guy who probably feels worse than anyone else that this happened?
So this is the guy that bought the alcohol in the group?
Yes. Yeah. So Kirkwood bought alcohol. CCTV at PNC Park shows him carrying 2 beers to the seats and giving one of them to Markwood during the game. So there's your furnishing alcohol to a minor.
Oh, so it's his fault?
That's what the legal charges say.
Right. I mean, I think it just goes to a lot of lack of self-accountability as well. But as you mentioned, why would you throw the book at the buddy that bought him the beer? I mean, it's just like, give him the slap on the wrist and let's move on at this point in time. They avoided disaster.
Yes.
They avoided disaster at this point.
Absolutely, 100%.
Number 3.
The Baltimore Orioles fired manager Brandon Hyde last week after making the playoffs in each of the last 2 seasons and getting off to a 15-28 start this season. One voice since the firing on Saturday has been noticeably absent, and that was the voice of general manager Mike Elias. Elias broke his silence yesterday in an article that came out in the Baltimore Sun saying, quote, after a certain number of years, certain group of players to go forward, sometimes organizations try something different, and that is what this is. Elias also stated that this was not an indictment of Hyde, but on the team as a whole. Since third base coach Tony Mansolino took over, the Orioles are 0-4 with a minus 14 run differential, and as of right now, in the top of the eighth inning, are losing 2-1 to the Milwaukee Brewers. Too small a sample size, or is it becoming clearer that this is more than just a team issue? Or more than just a leadership issue, sorry.
Yeah, they don't have any pitching. That's on you, general manager. You did not give them any pitching. They don't have pitching. They haven't had pitching. They have all of these players stockpiled, position players, and they have no pitching. And now they look like crap because half of them look like they've checked out for the season because their coach got fired. GM's days are numbered in Baltimore. And if they're not, they will never win.
Should be. Absolutely should be.
Number 4.
Gotta love it when LeBron James sticks his nose somewhere and gives his opinion that nobody asked for. On this particular doozy, Legod decided to weigh in on the Knicks-Celtics series with Steve Nash on the Mind the Game podcast. LeDoof said the Celtics lost the series not because the Knicks were better than them through the series, but because the Celtics, quote, got bored. LeBlowhard said, quote, sometimes it seems like they, Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, get a little bored because of how great they are. Not only those two as individuals, but then as a team, sometimes it looks like they get bored. First off, give the winning team their flowers. I mean, come on. Second of all, if you're getting bored when you're in the playoffs fighting for a chance to go to the league final, why are you playing?
Yeah.
What's the point of playing?
Hang it up, dude. No reason to. I agree with that statement. There's no reason to play at that point in time. If you're bored with what more do you need? You just collected a check at that point in time. More follow. Like, do you want that on your team as a fan? Like, this guy's bored playing in playoff games.
Out of your star players.
Yes.
I'll take a little bit off of Tatum because he got hurt.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I mean, come on.
Could you imagine like Machado said, like, I'm just kind of bored. Come on, dude.
That's embarrassing.
Embarrassing.
And to not give the Knicks any credit when the Knicks went winless.
Sour grapes, dude.
Against every top team in the league, East or West.
Sour grapes.
Number 5.
Salty.
Yep. We talked yesterday about the NFL voting to allow players to participate in the Olympics in 2028. We've already gotten our first player endorsement. Minnesota Vikings wide receiver Justin Jefferson said, quote, I'm just at a loss of words. Just to think about the chances of playing in the Olympics and getting a gold medal is a dream. Jefferson is a global flag ambassador and was instrumental in this decision being made. Also found out the tush push vote did not pass today. So the tush push will stay in the NFL. With NFL games being played in London, Dublin, Berlin, Madrid, and Sao Paulo, how much will this help the NFL gain more reach internationally by having their players in the Olympics?
I think that helps a lot. I think it does, especially if you start growing the game. Now, in order to grow football to the level that they want it, being an international product, you need young kids in those countries to play football because you need more football players. There's not enough in the United States, at least to be at the elite level that the NFL is at right now. And if you want to look any further, just look at the spring leagues. Nobody watches them. It's not a great product of football. That's just one tier down after 32 teams of players. So in order to grow the game, can't just put franchises in these countries. You have to have kids play your sport in other countries so you can supply the players to the league and get people interested. And it's a long building process. But yes, I would imagine the Olympics are like that. And good for the athletes of the NFL that want to go out and compete in the Olympics. I mean, every other sport has an opportunity to represent their country if they're an elite player in that sport. The only one has been football. So it'd be fun to see how those games go, as Justin Jefferson will not be covered by anybody.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's going to be fun when that poor 5'3" twig from the Netherlands watches Justin Jefferson run right past him in a flag football game. Trying to
think
cover
the
him.
dream team
There's no shot.
in basketball is like unfair. Team USA should just annihilate.
Well, no,
everybody.
again, it's only one player per NFL team.
You could find 32 Americans.
Right, but it's not going to be, they're not going to all be on the U.S. team. There are going to be some that are going to fill out other teams.
Well, they have those international roster spots. I would imagine those guys probably don't count towards that.
They would count towards the one player per team. Like, I would have to assume, who is it? Somebody just said they're committing to play for Israel in the World Baseball Classic. I'm sure there's going to be players that probably have some lineage and heritage down the line that are going to choose to play.
What I'm saying is what you said yesterday, with like every roster has an international spot that doesn't count towards the 53 man. And those players, I think those players count. So I think all of those players can go represent their countries, and then one for every NFL team.
Okay.
So they might. There's how many players do you keep on a flag football team? Like 20?
There's going to be a massive flag football team.
Like 20, right? Like even if it's 20, you find probably 20 American players, and I'm sure if the Vikings have multiple guys that want to play, I don't think they're going to deny Justin Jefferson an opportunity. He's just going to be upset about it. So
I just thought of probably the final, the best final that could come out of this.
What?
The U.S. versus Samoa. Could you imagine that game?
True.
That would be a great final.
True. That's true. It'd be interesting. Good job on the sports thread.
Thank you, sir.
We'll have more of the college football stuff on Friday. We do not have a show tomorrow. I'm on Gwyn and Chris tomorrow. Frank will be running the board. Scraby also will be at the blood drive tomorrow. Padres blood drive at Petco Park. So come down, donate blood, come say hi to Scraby and I. We'll be the post game show after the Padres hopefully win the series over Toronto after they win tonight. And that will be tomorrow's activities. No roundtable tomorrow. Correct? Game starts at 10.
Yep, 10:07 start,
right.
First pitch.
So that will be Thursday. Friday, we'll have our normal show time, getting you ready for a Padres series in Atlanta, and that is the rest of the week. When we come back, maybe I'll go get one of these in the conference room or in the kitchen. We talked about it yesterday. It is part of our midday bite, lunchtime hour bite down. I don't think anybody's having this for lunchtime hour. But that being said, anybody that brings donuts to the office, I'm talking to you right now. I will lay out for you what you got to do to be loved by your office. It comes with what comes in the box. That pink box that you bring, you can't just ask for 12 donuts. You'll be hated. Take some notes with me when we come back on the Braden Surprenant Show on San Jose Sports Station 97 to the Fan. Little Hardy on a Wednesday. He's here tomorrow. Hardy's in town tomorrow.
Congratulations. Good on him.
Co Wetzel. That's a concert tomorrow.
God bless you.
No, we don't have tickets to give away for that. A lot of my friends wanted me to go to that. Not going to a concert Thursday night, 2 days before I leave at 6 in the morning. Not going to happen. I like Hardy. I don't but there's not enough Hardy songs for me to want to go to his concert. I'm not a huge concert guy in general. I like music. I like all sorts of music. If you listen to our show on the radio and you hear our rejoins, it's a lot of different genres. A lot of different genres. But I've only been to 5 concerts ever in my life, I think. I bet you I can count on one hand. Maybe not. Maybe I've been to more and I don't even realize it. First ever concert I went to was Rise Against at Viejas Arena. It was when I was in high school. Rise Against was popular when I was in high school, and then I haven't heard much from Rise Against after that. I've seen Rise Against. I've seen Blink-182 twice. Saw them at Viejas when I was in college. That was when Tom DeLonge was not part of the band. And then I saw him again a couple of years ago at the Sports Arena when Tom was a part of the band again. Wearing Padres stuff. Super cool. Would you count? That's 2 separate concerts, I guess.
I would say so.
I saw, back when I first started working here, when the Padres were on 94.9, right next door, they used to do a lot more concerts than they did. They had one that they did at the Oceanside Pier, and it was Judah and the Lion, which we have some of their music that plays in, Saint Motel, and Franz Ferdinand were the 3 bands. You would go back and forth. So they had 2 stages set up. There was one in the main amphitheater side of the Oceanside Pier. Have you ever been up there? Do you know what I'm talking about?
I have. I think I've been there once. If
They
I
have
have,
an
it's been
amphitheater on the beach.
Yeah, if I have been there, it's been a while ago.
So it was that one, and then you moved to the other stage that they had that didn't have the amphitheater seating, and then you would go back. I would consider that one concert in itself. That's 4. And I went to Morgan Wallen a couple years ago, and then he came to Petco Park. So I think I've been to 5 concerts ever in my life. That's not a lot. I mean, I got friends that have seen Hardy 5 different times. I've been to 5 total concerts. It's not my thing. Do I enjoy it when I'm there? Yeah, sure. Loud music, I guess. It's not my thing. I go to any sporting event in the world. Any sport. Have a great time. Concerts? Yeah. You will never see me at a festival. I tell you that right now. Stagecoach, Coachella, I will never, ever be there. If I am there, it is because
someone helped this poor man.
Somebody made me go. And that would probably only be a girlfriend or maybe a wife in the future. But I don't have one of those, so I don't have to worry about that. I'm just going to be I'm not going. That would be the only time you would ever see me at one of those events.
It's the only reason why I've gone.
Dragged there against my will. Now, if you had a festival like that, but it was college football, oh my God. First in line. Could you imagine? Set up mini stadiums out in Palm Springs, and you got Penn State kicking off 11 in the morning, and then SC plays at 12:30. It's basically what you would be doing on your couch, but at a festival for the opening weekend of college football. I am there. Concerts, out. Not that into it. But it's funny, I was working out today with my buddy Perez, and he was talking about he's going to Hardy tomorrow with our friend Sam in the chat, who's been trying to convince me to go to a concert. I'm not going. Perez understands that I'm going on a trip. Don't want to do that. He's trying to convince my friend Mike, who hates country music, to go to Hardy. Mike was like, no, absolutely not.
Yeah, I was going to say that's not.
Trying to convince a non-country music fan to go to a country music concert, you have a better chance of getting me at a festival than Mike at a country concert.
Well, you know.
I think the Chargers have a better chance of moving back to San Diego then Mike's chance to go to a country concert. Katie in the chat. I can only think of one Hardy song. It's the song I just played. That's the song that we. And so anyway, we're having this conversation, and my buddy Perez, I was like, I literally only know one song, and he's like, "What? Truck Bed?" And I go, "Yeah." He's like, now when that song comes on in my car, like if he's listening to music, he goes, "I just think of, oh wait, Braden's about to talk right now." Hilarious.
That's a great subliminal training, right?
That's
there.
right. So anytime you hear
Exactly
Truck
what you've
Bed.
done.
My voice is, and he goes, this is his impersonation. Oh, 1:15 on a Tuesday. Every time he hears that one Hardy song, because he was like, he knows more Hardy songs than he thought. And so he's going to the concert. We missed our donut conversation, but
Well, we can still
we
have
could
it.
get to it in the next bit. Concert guy, yes or no?
Me? No.
You don't strike me as a concert guy.
No, I'm not a crowd guy.
Yeah, you like the press box.
Yes, I do. I
Likes the press box.
I like the press box very
Spread
much.
out a little bit. Charge my device. Wi-Fi works. Internet works.
I've been to more concerts than you. I've seen Billy Joel twice. I've seen Ben Folds twice. I've seen, again, Dragged to. I enjoyed myself, but I've seen Caravan Palace at the Observatory in North Park.
I heard that's a cool concert venue.
Yeah, it's not bad. It's really not bad. It sucks if your back hurts and you want to sit down, but
true.
I've seen the last one I went to was Shaky Graves at Humphreys.
Humphreys, good spot.
That was the last one I went to, and I've also seen this was the big one when I was in high school and college. Also, huge Aerosmith fan. Loved them.
Olympian
My
Frank.
ex, yes. My ex got us tickets to the Kaboo Music Festival at Del Mar.
Oh, Kaboo? Yeah. Are they even around anymore?
Yeah, I think so.
I guess Wonderfront was over the weekend, I guess.
Aerosmith with Lenny Kravitz.
Wow.
I was in heaven.
Not bad.
So good. And then had a panic attack leaving because it was like a herd of buffalo.
Oh, yeah.
Leaving Del Mar. I'm like, I got to get out of here.
My buddies are in the pit tomorrow for Hardy. I said, absolutely not. No, thank you. He's like, well, it's not much of a pit. He's just like front row. Even worse.
Yeah. Thanks.
Even worse. The furthest away from the stage I could be at a concert, the better. I don't need to be close. I don't want to be close. I can hear it.
Same thing. I can hear it.
It's loud. I can hear it. Not a huge concert guy. Now, that being said, like, I don't mind, like, Nashville, love Nashville. Broadway, fun. And here's the thing, like, when I'm vibing, just kind of chilling, like, I don't have like a gigantic smile on my face, so people are always like, why aren't you having fun? I am. I'm having a good time.
Yeah, I don't need to be
I'm
jumping
enjoying
around.
myself.
I don't need to be
Stop
jumping around like a
asking.
dope in order to be excited.
I'm a chill guy. It's going to be chill all the time. I don't need to be freaking out all the time.
Edward Sullivan, the second Billy Joel concert I went to one at the what is it? The one in LA.
The Hollywood Bowl?
Yeah, the Hollywood Bowl, and the second one I went to was at Petco. That was Billy Joel's first concert in San Diego in like 20 years.
Wow.
He sold Petco out.
You gotta go try to get the Yankees bobblehead of Billy Joel?
No.
Hit a nerve.
He's a Met fan too.
I know, exactly.
Why are the
Nick,
Yankees
just saying
doing a Billy Joel?
They're doing it. They're doing it.
I wanted the George Costanza bobblehead, though. I will say that.
My guy Johnny wants to weigh in on the donuts. So we got to get to the donuts. Best place for donuts in town? You bring the right donuts to the office? We'll talk about it when we come back. Plus, we need a contestant for our midday sports standoff. 833-288-0973. 833-288-0973. If you could take me down in some trivia today, you'll be qualified for a chance to win our grand prize, a trip to see Bruno Mars in Las Vegas, including 2 tickets to his show at Dolby Live at Park MGM on September 3rd, a 2-night stay at Park MGM, and a $100 gift card. Tickets are on sale now at Ticketmaster.com. Give me a call, take me down in trivia, win a chance to go to Vegas to see Bruno Mars. Speaking of concerts, little bit of donut talk, a little midday sports standoff. Plus, are there issues with the new ABS system in terms of balls and strikes from the robots? We'll talk about that as well as the Braden Surprenant show continues on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97 The Fan. 12:40. Need a contestant for the midday sports standoff. 833-288-0973. 833-288-0973. If you take me down in trivia, you will win a trip or qualify for a trip to see Bruno Mars in Vegas. 2 tickets to a show at Dolby Live at Park MGM on September 3rd. A 2-night stay at Park MGM and a $100 gift card. Tickets are on sale now at Ticketmaster.com. I think that's Labor Day weekend, if I'm not mistaken. What a better time to go to Vegas.
Yeah.
Labor Day week. You got college football. What a great time to be at a sports book. And then you go see Bruno Mars. You kidding me?
There you go. Callers, that's your cue. Start calling in.
September 3rd is the Wednesday after Labor Day. Make it a week. Have a day. Be like Cole Brooks in the chat. Have yourself a Wednesday. He started his Wednesday eating Taco Bell. Go ahead. You mind if a man has a day? 833-288-0973. 833-288-0973. A lot of people in the chat chiming in their favorite donut place. Here's my deal on donuts. I've done this take before. We had to mention it because yesterday, Mary's Donuts was in the kitchen. I don't know who brought Mary's Donuts, but they were there. It was a good selection. But when you look at Office Donuts, and I have a hot take on the Office Donuts. I feel like the people that bring the donuts in for the office don't actually like donuts. I think they just go, I'll do it. And they go to the donut shop and they go, give me, I need a dozen donuts or whatever. Give me 2 boxes. What do you want, sir? Anything. It doesn't really matter to me. I don't eat these things. Can't be that guy. Because then you get the little cake crumbled cinnamon crap that nobody likes. If you go to a donut shop guy and give me 12 donuts, he's just going to give you the crap he can't sell. That like they get one of every time, but he still has to make it for some reason. Follow my logic here, Frank. You got 12 donuts, right? Sometimes they give you an extra one. Sometimes they give you a baker's dozen when you ask for a dozen. I think you got to go with a couple of classic glazed, a raised glaze. I think you need at least 2 of those. People like those. I think you mix in a twist or 2. Maybe do a chocolate bar or 2. I think you got to go with, and to me, I think you go 2 of whatever you get. So I'd go 2 raised glaze, get a couple twists, get 2 chocolate bars. You're at 6. I'd get 4 cake sprinkled donuts. Again, if you're office guy, write this down. You'll be loved forever. 2 raised glazed, 2 twists, 2 chocolate bars, 4 sprinkled donuts. You can mix in the white cake, chocolate cake, whatever you want to do. 4 sprinkled ones. People like those. I like those. But just the caked ones. The raised ones, too much. Okay, so now we are at 10 donuts. You have 2 left, maybe 3. I think you mix in a Boston cream. I think you throw in 1 old fashioned. And if you get the 13th donut, maybe you get the Bear Claw. But I don't think the Bear Claw is a weekend donut. You can't be having it in the middle of the day. You're just going to kill productivity. You'll be put to sleep. If you want to go maple bar, get a little crazy, sure. But those are the 12. I mean, those what you get. Now, if you want to mix in, maybe only get 3 of the sprinkled ones, and you add another one, sure. But if you buy donuts for the office and you show up with the cake donut with cinnamon on the cinnamon one, get out. Give up your responsibility to get donuts. I think 1 old fashioned is probably fine. I don't think you need to get more than that. People like the old fashioned. Okay, they like the raised glaze. Those are the 12 donuts you got. To recap, couple raised glaze, couple twists, couple chocolate bars. Okay, get you 6, 3 to 4 sprinkled donuts on the cake, the caked ones. A Boston cream, an old fashioned. You're pretty much set. If you want to get crazy with the maple bar, do that. Johnny brings up another good point. Cinnamon ones, out the door. If you get the powdered donuts like you could get at Vaughn's in the box, you're getting shin kicked. I agree with Johnny right there. No more donut responsibilities for you. That's how you do office donuts. If you don't do it like that, you're probably hated by your office. You have to have some passion in this. Otherwise, you're not going to get the results. Your thoughts, Frank?
Now,
am I missing one?
No, but my question is about the powdered donuts. What if you do go to Dunkin' Donuts and you do get like munchkins?
Are those
Like
the
those
donut
are
holes?
fine. Yeah, those
you
are
get those
little...
on the side. That's a side thing.
Yeah, exactly.
You got to get the main course box.
Yeah,
and then you can get
with
the donut
munchkins
side.
on the side.
Sometimes, since Randy's Donuts is down the street, our office sometimes has Randy's Donuts. When they got the donut holes, that's a good option. That's why I love, like, I've seen them spot the mini donuts at the park. If you could go get the mini donuts in the select locations, I don't know how many locations they have. I know they do some advertising with us. If you could go with the mini donuts, midweek mini donuts, you're in good spot. Because, I show up to work. Frank does the same thing. We have food. You can't be doing that every single day. It's not, I'm trying to live a healthier lifestyle. You're trying to, stick with your macros. You want to eat the protein. Can't be down in some donuts in the middle of the week. The mini donuts, a little sample of each. You probably have like 4, probably equivalent to 1 or maybe even a half of one. Now we're talking the mini donuts. Now we're talking. So you gotta have a little bit of variety there. Some people are passionate about this topic too. In the YouTube chat, they really don't like the twists. Some people do. In terms of actual donuts places, that might be a topic for discussion on a different day. I've seen VG's Donuts in the chat. I've seen Mary's Donuts in the chat. I've seen Rose's Donuts in the chat. I don't discriminate. In fact, somebody yesterday in the YouTube comment said, let me guess, when you pick your favorite donut spot, it's going to be the place closest to your house. Well, I liked VG's and I talked about it yesterday, and Rose's. I don't live anywhere near either of those places. So it's not really much convenience. I used to like Donut Touch and Scripps Ranch. It's not there anymore. It's like a Donatopolis or something. And I will tell you this, not a huge fan of the fancy donuts. Do not be bringing the fancy donuts around here. The cereal on top, the Oreos, the like gigantic design. I can't do those. This is too much. It's way too much sugar. Out on that. We've inspired a lot of heat in the chat. And that's what I like to do.
Don't we always?
Light the match, drop it.
Watch chat, have fun.
Exactly. It's time for the Midday Sports Stand-Up.
Welcome to Midday Sports Standoff on the Braden Surprenant Show.
I can't believe what I'm seeing right now.
The ultimate head-to-head battle where sports knowledge and quick thinking collide.
No, he's no good. Are you kidding me?
Contestants will go toe-to-toe with Braden in a sports trivia deal where every correct answer brings them closer to victory.
Down the sideline! Wow! Unbelievable!
But 3 strikes and it's game over.
This is not Detroit, man. This is the Super Bowl.
Can you outsmart Braden? The Midday Sports Standoff starts now.
All right, Steven San Carlos wants to try to win or qualify for a trip to Vegas. Steve, what's going on, man?
Hey, what's up, Uni Don? I actually moved downtown. But,
all right.
You still got
Steve downtown. Appreciate it.
All right.
Let's do it.
Ready to go. Okay, so today's topic, we did cities with 4 sports teams in them, or
no, we didn't. We did the capital cities of states.
That's what it is. So today we're sticking with the cities trend. Cities with teams in all 4 major sports: Major League Baseball, NFL, NBA, and the NHL. Cities that have all 4 major sports teams in them. There are 12 of them. I would say 10, but technically there's 12.
We have a dispute with your answers.
We do have a dispute with the answers.
We'll talk about that at 1 o'clock.
All right. So Steve, you're good on the topic. You know the rules?
Got it.
All righty.
Right, Steve,
You've
go
got
ahead.
the first shot.
All right, let's go to New York City.
So we're looking for cities that have the 4 major sports
Yes,
teams.
that have all 4 major sports
Hockey,
teams.
NBA,
Yes.
MLB,
MLB,
and the
and-
NHL. Denver. How many did you say? You think there's 10?
I think there's 10. There's 12 on this list.
Okay. Are those other two going to
let's go
count?
Chicago.
Chicago, yes.
Dallas. DFW area.
Dallas, yes.
Even though they technically play in Arlington, but
Los Angeles.
We are 5 for 5. We're cooking with this again today.
Phoenix. Oh, they don't have hockey anymore.
Nope. Your wonderful Utah Mammoth.
That's right.
Steve.
Boston. Stick with the big cities.
Okay.
Steve is out to a 1-answer lead.
So we've had Boston, we've had New York, we've had LA, we've had Denver, we have Dallas.
We have 6 more.
6 more
Halfway
cities.
down.
Are we counting the District of Columbia? Are we counting Washington, D.C.?
That we are.
All right.
Let's see. How about Detroit?
Detroit.
Steve is 5 for 5.
Philadelphia.
3 answers left.
Does Toronto count?
No, it does not.
What do they not
In
have?
the U.S.
Oh, you said U.S. cities.
Yes, I did.
Dang it. Okay.
So you're good.
I think the Twin Cities have every team.
Minneapolis, correct. And now it's funny because these are the 2 that I don't think should be on the list.
I'm reading your thoughts here. How about Las Vegas?
No, not yet.
Are they missing? They're missing baseball. Well, they have the NBA, so no. What about Tampa doesn't have an NBA team, do they? You go Tampa? Not an NBA. I think some like crazy Florida team.
Steve, you got to get this in order to tie, and if you tie, you win.
How about Seattle?
No.
Basketball. All right, let me think about this now. Deeper thought. There's 2 left, and they're both
And they're the 2 that I don't
questionable.
think should be in it.
Okay. Well, we talked about the North Carolina teams yesterday. It'd be such a reach if they consider the Carolina Hurricane one of those. What about no, because they don't have hockey. We don't have that much time. I was gonna guess like it's not Atlanta. No, it's not Nashville. Since I'm thinking outside the box because you don't think it counts. I would go with Charlotte because they have all the teams but hockey, and hockey plays in Raleigh.
It is not Charlotte. So you've both got 3 strikes now. We're both out. So we're coming down to it. It's up to.
Braden?
Do we give Steve it because you guys have tied? It's 5-5, and you both have 3 strikes.
Yeah, might as well.
All right, so Steve,
he technically would have lost, but sorry.
Hold the line.
I love that from him.
You get your rebuttal. You got your rebuttal, and
a tie is a win.
Exactly.
Even though he had the
5
3 strikes first, there's really no rebuttals. But yes, we'll give him we're trying to give it away.
Yeah, we are. We're trying to help you guys out, especially since this is towards the end. The 2 that we're missing.
Hang on, I want to guess this.
Okay.
But give me a hint.
1 on each coast.
San Francisco, the Bay Area?
Yes.
San Jose.
I don't think because of San Jose, I didn't think San Francisco should have been included.
How far is San Jose from San Francisco? Is it the same as Raleigh to Charlotte?
I don't know.
It's not. Charlotte's like
but
2 hours
it's
away.
funny. I saw somebody online say, don't the San Jose Sharks play closer to San Francisco than the Niners do?
Yes. I think
So
they do.
there you go. So
the
that
S&P
was
Center.
that
Yeah,
was
because the
kinda
Niners technically don't play in San Francisco.
right. And then the
They
second
play in
one,
Santa Clara.
The second one, again, you're including.
It's on the East Coast?
Yes.
Oh, shoot. I'll guess it when we come back. Lineup is out for the Padres. We'll talk about that. When we come back, we will also get to the Padres offense a little bit more. What should they prioritize? Sticking to contact, or is it time to start thinking about slugging some more? That will come up next as we start the final hour of the Braden Surprenant Show on San Diego's #1 sports station, 970 The Fan. Final hour of the Braden Surprenant Show on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. College baseball's got their conference tournaments underway. A lot of teams in action today. San Diego State will play tonight. What time did you say? 6?
6:05.
6:05 against UNLV.
If you go on the San Diego State Aztecs baseball Twitter page, it gives you links where you can watch and listen.
I like that. San Jose State will play New Mexico in game 1 at 1. They're actually playing right now. They should be. No, they'll start in 5 minutes. They play at 1:05. That's game 1 of the doubleheader today in Mesa, Arizona at Sloan Park, where the tournament is for the Mountain West Conference. Aztecs will play UNLV. If they win, they play Fresno State. We'll get you updated on that tomorrow. In the West Coast Conference, the other local college baseball team playing or still alive. The Toreros have a bye. They got the 1 seed in the WCC. They will play the lowest advancing seed. San Francisco plays St. Mary's today at 2 in the 6-3 matchup. And in the 5-4 between Portland and LMU, we'll play at 6:05. Early game tomorrow is at 2. Game 3, USD baseball. And Gonzaga, as the 2 seed, will play the higher advancing seed of the first round. They will play it at 6. They're out in Las Vegas. Big West tournament going on. UCSD did not make the Big West tournament. As I look at some of the other scores out there, Santa Barbara and Hawaii will play today at 3 o'clock. Winner will play Irvine, who got the number 1 seed. UCSD just missed. Controversy in the midday sports standoff in terms of our gripes with the answers to the question of the 12 cities with teams in all 4 major sports. Now, we got all of them correct that weren't the controversial ones.
Yes, which is why we decided to give the tie. It was because you got all of the undisputable ones correct.
The 2 that were kind of a reach. San Francisco, because they count the Sharks as part of the Bay Area. But it's weird because it's like, for a while, you had Oakland and San Francisco. Would you consider it like the New York City area, like New York City is, right? Where they have all these teams?
I mean, that's why you do Boston, because Foxborough is a suburb of Boston, so it's in the metropolitan area.
Not close. That takes a little bit of a drive to get out to Foxborough. And after a game at Foxborough, let me tell you, strap in. You're going to be there for a long time. Even after you hang out at their little mall that they have there, it's still forever to get out of that place. But the other one was because Steve wanted to know, and I wanted to guess, and I ended up getting to, it took me long enough with a lot of hints. Miami is the other one. Florida Panthers play on the outside. Where do they play? Sunrise, Florida?
Sunrise, Florida, yes.
Sunrise, Florida, right on the tip of the Everglades. And it's considered the same area.
It's considered the Miami-Dade, Fort Lauderdale metropolitan area, which is why it technically counted. But that's a reach. Yeah. That was the farthest reach of all of them.
I agree. Padres Dyers says Twin City shouldn't count. They all play in Minneapolis, though. Rangers do not play in Fort Worth. They play in Arlington. I mentioned that when I said Dallas, the DFW area. Most of the DFW teams play in Arlington. When I mean most, I mean 2. The Rangers and the Cowboys play in Arlington. The Stars and the Mavericks play in Dallas. They also have minor league teams there, too. That's kind of the nice thing about working in sports in those cities is you have so much to talk about, but so many opportunities to work.
Yeah.
We have 1 team, 2. San Diego FC. San Diego FC is playing the Galaxy this week?
Yep. Galaxy on Saturday afternoon.
Big one. Although the Galaxy have not been playing very well.
The reigning defending MLS Cup champions who beat my New York Red Bulls last November, winless through 15 games this year, which is making me feel great.
You're the last team they beat.
Yeah.
Their head coach just got a contract extension.
Especially after we just beat them again a couple weeks ago, 7-0. So that was fun to watch. Couldn't have done that in November. Appreciate your effort.
David Murs says Commanders play in Landover. Yes, they do. They will be in the future playing in D.C. They're going to take over the old RFK Stadium or whatever it is and build a new one.
Yep.
So, yes. We didn't have time to get your thoughts on the donuts. Did you add any other donut to that selection that we had?
Me?
Yeah, you.
Oh, sorry. I was cutting audio.
No, the other guy standing there.
Well, no, I didn't know if you were just throwing out a random
No, go ahead.
A question. I play it safe. So if I'm getting the donuts, I'm sorry, but I'm getting one for me too. Like I'm getting a specific. You're the one getting a specific one for me. That will either be an old fashioned, or it's going to be like one of those glazed cinnamon roll ones. I love those.
That was one of my lists of don't ever bring these in the office.
Well, that's why I'm getting it for
Get it
myself.
For yourself, a little side bag.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't put that in the pink box.
Well, no, if it's going in the box, I'm just going to be the one taking the box. Well, I'm going to be the one taking it. I'm going like basic. I'm going glaze. I'll get strawberry sprinkle, vanilla sprinkle, chocolate sprinkle, Boston cream.
Oh, he's great.
Jelly filled. Like I'm getting the basic ones that everyone likes that no one's going to complain about.
I've seen the jelly filled two ways. It's either got the powdered sugar on it or not. I'd rather have the glazed jelly filled than the powdered sugar one.
I don't do the regular powdered sugar one. I love the powdered sugar ones are fine. The powdered donut ones
you just
are
don't
fine.
want to get kicked in the shins.
I want, again, if I'm getting munchkins, it's the powdered cinnamon ones.
Okay.
Those are good. Those are really good. I'll have those all day.
I'm out on Dunkin' Donuts. Out.
I'm sorry.
Out.
That's unfortunate for you.
Out. I've had them. I've tried them. They taste fake.
No.
Not interested. It's not great.
Again, for me, donut places, especially in New York, aren't all that big because we've got bagel places, we got diners, restaurants, stuff like that. What are you calling me out for now?
No, go Aztecs staying out of the conversation because his would be a foul. Well, now we need to know.
Yeah, I was going to say, you can't do that, dude.
Yeah, come on, dude.
You got to say it now.
He doesn't want to get kicked in the shins by Johnny in the chat.
I got the foul ready.
Rod said, call me selfish, but when I bring donuts to the office, they're Rod's picks. I do pick one powdered sugar, and whoever gets that one has to buy the next round. Because nobody gets those. Nobody gets those. That one, the cinnamon one, I think the cinnamon roll is pushing it, Frank. The apple fritter.
Again,
the bear claw.
That's for
those are not
me.
donuts. Those are baked goods is what they are.
The glazed cinnamon roll is for me. It's for nobody else. And if you eat it, we are going to have a big old problem.
Awesome.
But like I said, who doesn't love Donut Guy?
Everybody
loves Donut Guy.
As long as Donut Guy brings the right donuts.
What am I pushing? John 619 in the YouTube chat. What am I pushing?
I think it's Dunkin' Donuts.
Oh, if you're okay, that's
maple bacon donut from Mary's. Bacon on the donut. I've seen those. Probably goes well.
It's got to be the bacon crumble. It's like you can't put
like the slices of bacon. I've seen those.
No, like
we have the maple bar, but it's like 2 slices of bacon on top. I need the bacon bits.
Yeah,
dude.
it's the bacon bits. That's what you got to do.
All right, enough of that. We've talked about donuts long enough. Padres lineup is out. Oh man.
Oh, apple fritter.
I forgot to. They cleaned our passwords for all of our social media. And that'll be a project for tomorrow, since I can't access our Twitter page now and here. So I'll have to go the old-fashioned way for a lineup. MLB.com it is. Randy Vasquez getting a start today for the Padres against Kevin Gausman. Vasquez 3-3 with a 3.45 ERA. Gausman 3-4 with a 4.59 ERA. Game's at 4:07 p.m. Pacific time. Sam Levitt will have the pregame show, EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show at 3:07. Gwen and Chris come on after us in about an hour or so. We'll get you more of a preview of this game. Did want to get you the lineup today Fernando batting leadoff, playing right field. Luis Arraez batting second, playing first base. Manny Machado plays third, bats third. Jackson Merrill playing center field, bats cleanup. Xander Bogaerts in the 5 spot, plays shortstop. Gavin Sheets is a designated hitter. He bats 6th. Jake Cronenworth playing second base and bats 7th. Jason Hayward in the lineup tonight, playing left field, bats 8th. And Martin Maldonado rounds up the San Diego 9 and catches. Nothing too surprising there. It's been the same kind of for the last couple of weeks or so. I got a little bit excited for a second about an hour ago, maybe a little bit more, when Frank said, "Oh, a little mix-up in the lineup today." And I'm like, what? And he's like, "No, it's about my Mets." Not
Yeah,
your Mets.
Met lineup.
Immediate throw paper over my head. Lineup's the same. I'm not necessarily in the I don't get caught up in do we need to mix it up. I don't get caught up in the I remember 5 years ago it was a brand new lineup every single day. I mean it was different every single day. And people complained. The problem with the Padres offense is they don't know where they're hitting every day. They need to be in the same order. Now they're in the same order. People want to bitch. People just like to bitch. I think that's what it is. I like Fernando in the leadoff spot. Again, I still think Jackson Merrill should bat 2. I'd go Machado 3, and I'd go Arraez 4. Be my top 4. I wouldn't be super against having Sheets bat 5, Bogaerts 6, then Cronenworth 7, or even Bogaerts 7th and Cronenworth 6. I think there's a couple ways to mix it up. I think you might be in the range right now. If the Padres fail to score runs again today, it might be time to kind of shake things up a little bit. Maybe move things around. I think some teams mix it up a little bit too much. And I think some teams don't mix it up enough. I'm not against the lineup that Mike Schultz throwing out there. Again, we talked about the process versus results with Bob Scanlan earlier in the day. And you can't just change your entire process because the results are not there. Stick to it. I think the Padres have a good process with their offensive approach. Slug versus contact. I've already really mentioned what I think the Padres should do, but is it time for the Padres to focus more on slug than just getting on base with their high contact philosophy? We'll talk about it when we come back and get to your phone calls, 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. Braden Surprenant Show rolls on in the final hour of the show on a Wednesday. San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. Just flying the city. Padres fans scrounging for a win right now. 4 in a row. It's been tough. Padres offense hasn't been that great. Been almost bad in reality. Not being able to hit with runners in scoring position. That's now 0 for 20-something in a row. After going 0 for 21 all weekend against Seattle, it continued last night for the Padres as it was a major struggle against Toronto. I've been saying all day on the afternoon on the show, just, hey, you got to stick with it. There's nothing really, I think, to be concerned about. You're going to go through stretches like this. I think we've talked about that a little bit at the beginning part of the day. I mentioned what was in Kevin Acey's daily newsletter about the Padres and about their offense sputtering. After just scoring 3 runs across 4 games and hitting .212 as a team, Padres have hit a new low. Source of the collapse is largely centered, as I center my camera, centered around the middle of the batting order, where once reliable hitters like Machado, Merrill, and Tatis have gone ice cold, top of the order. Deeper concern, however, is the team is not slugging. Padres manager Mike Shildt defends the contact-oriented approach, emphasizing the team's low strikeout rate, solid on-base skills, and quality at-bats. But even Shildt concedes that slugging matters, and right now the Padres have almost none of it. Since their 21-0 explosion against Colorado on May 10th, San Diego has just 5 home runs in 8 games, and their season total of 41 homers ranks among the bottom 6 in Major League Baseball. Only 28.6% of the runs have come via the long ball, second lowest in the league. Meanwhile, opponents are feasting. Seattle and Toronto combined for 8 home runs across the last 4 games, making the difference on the scoreboard. Mike Shilt's philosophical stance is that chasing slug would compromise the team's identity as complete hitters, leading to more strikeouts and lower averages, but this slump has illuminated the cost of not having enough thump in the lineup when stringing hits together fails. Team's most important hitters are in freefall. Machado and Merrill, 2 for 30 in the past 4 games. Tatis hitting .224 of the last 2 weeks, despite 12 homers on the year. And Padres are hitless in their last 24 at-bats with runners in scoring position. Only 6 innings out of the 36 have seen the leadoff man reach base during the skid. If Luis Arraez and Xander Bogaerts are removed from the sample involving the .212 batting average, the team's batting average in the last 4 games dropped to a dismal 175. Imagine me saying that 3 weeks ago, Frank. If you take Xander Bogaerts out of the lineup, the offense for the Padres drops to a 175 batting average. I don't hear everybody chirping about him anymore. Give it some time. Give it some time. So that's a look at the offense right now for the Padres. Here's my thoughts. I agree with Mike Shildt, and I've seen it work so many times before, about their offensive identity. And even though currently it's not working, doesn't mean the process is not good. I would much rather, and we asked this question of Bob Scanlan, but as a pitcher, and I agree with Bob Scanlan, he's an actual pitcher. I'm not. I am more afraid of a lineup that hits the ball all over the yard and strings together hits than I am with a team that relies heavily on solely slug. I think the same thing is said about a lot of things in baseball. You can't just do one thing or the other. They both have their weaknesses. They both have their strengths. Obviously, with a high slugging team, even if you go through a little bit of a rough patch from an offense, you would think, hey, one swing of the bat, we got to run on the board. The problem with that, though, is if that's your only results and you go into a slump, it's not going to end very well for the Padres. We've seen that happen before in the past. I would much rather have a team that puts pressure on and strings hits together. Slugging is important. But if you look at the team that the Padres have and the Padres have assembled, They don't have a lot of high slugging guys. In particular, they don't have any power hitters. So to be upset about a team that isn't designed to hit home runs, not hitting home runs is very, very much foolish. Jackson Merrill, even though he hits home runs, is not a home run only hitter. He is not a power hitter. He is a line drive, gap to gap hitter. That plays at Petco Park. The batters at Petco Park that have always done the best have been the double to the gap players. Those are the players the Padres should get. Those are the players that have the most success at Petco instead of the power hitters that come in, get frustrated they can't hit a ball outside of Petco Park, out of Petco Park, and then go into major slumps. Or pull a Phil Nevin and look to the general manager's booth and go, I can't believe he built this place. Jackson Merrill's not a power hitter. Manny Machado, again, even though he hits home runs, is not a power hitter. Xander Bogaerts has never been a power hitter. Look at his stats. Never been. And even though Fernando Tatis can hit the living you-know-what out of a baseball, he is a pure hitter. He is not a power hitter. I think you only have one power hitter on the team. His name is Gavin Sheets. He is a power hitter, traditionally a power hitter. He'll put the ball over the fence. But you built your team on being high average and hitting the ball in the gaps and working counts and grinding out at bats and putting the ball in play. You can win like that. So just because right now the Padres are not winning doesn't mean you got to freak out. You're like, well, they're not hitting any home runs. You don't have to be a home run hitting team to be successful in baseball. You've seen that throughout the years a lot. In fact, home run hitting or bust teams usually don't do well in October. The teams that do well can hit home runs, but they can also find other ways to beat you. But that doesn't mean they're going to win every single game when they go out there to play. No, anyone hitting over 25 home runs is not a power hitter. That is the most foolish thing I've ever heard. You can hit line drive home runs. Power hitters are guys that just only hit home runs and they hit for a low average. Power hitters are like guys like Taylor Ward, who hits under 200 but has 14 home runs. Joey Gallo's a power hitter. He hits a bunch of home runs, but he can't hit very well. So, yes, he hits a lot of home runs, but if he's only getting a hit 18% of the time, because that's what a batting average is, your percentage of the amount of times you get a hit, it's not a high damaging player. Ask any pitcher in baseball who they would rather face. A guy like Luis Ariz, who's going to get a hit more times than not, or a guy that might have power but is not hitting for a high average. They take the power guy. Bob Scanlan mentioned that in the interview we had with him at 10:35. I could put the ball in places where he's not going to be as successful and get a fly ball. I can't do that with high contact players. This team does need to add some slug to their lineup, but I think that's going to come with the summer months heating up. But they're not built to be a power hitting team. They win in a different way. This is how the team is assembled. Nobody should be surprised at some of the results that they're getting in terms of lacking of home runs. And I've mentioned it before, and I'll mention it again. Last year, we were talking about the exact same thing in the month of May, and guess what the Padres did? Frank's heard me say this about 1,500 times. Padres finished 10th in home runs last year, with arguably kind of the same roster. Jurickson Profar kind of homered out of his mind for the first time in his career. But relatively the same roster. Now, you're not getting a lot of production in your catching position. Padres have already viewed that as a defensive-only position. It would be nice to get a left fielder. You're probably not going to get a new one until at least the trade deadline. This is the team that you have. This is the team that they built. So be excited about all you want. We talked about it at the beginning of the year. I said, you either like the aggressive nature of the Padres or you don't. And when it's not working right now, you can't flip everything and try to change your identity. This is the identity of the Padres. They're going to grind out at bats. They're going to put balls in play, and they're going to hit for a high average. It worked out for them last year. And it will continue to work out this year. You're in a little bit of a slump right now. And when you start to think about, I need to do X, Y, Z, you start to get into a slump because you're trying to do more than you can. And that's why the Padres are in a little bit of a slump right now. I know they're probably looking at the home run numbers and going, we need to hit more. I mean, Manny Machado has what, 3 on the season? I mean, I can't even believe that. Manny, in his first month of his season, in his career, in the month of April, every single season, he has had at least 4 home runs in just the month of April. He's got 3 home runs total. Yes, you do, Brandon. You hit the ball out 400 feet with bat speed, not just power. There's such a thing as bat speed. Faster the bat speed, the more likely chance you'll hit the ball out of the park. You could do that without power. That's how other guys hit home runs. Line drive hitting. They will fly out of here eventually. You don't need to be a power hitter to do that. A little bit more of a preview of tonight's game as we lead you into Gwynn and Chris when we come back. He's Frank Marchese. I'm Braden Surprenant. Braden Surprenant Show rolls on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. Some of the comments on Twitter, man, just crack me up. I talked about that tweet I saw last night I was tagged in. Victor Rodriguez has to go. 4 games, dude. 4 games. It's been 4 games that they've lost in a row. The Dodgers just lost 4 games in a row. It happens. Have some patience. It's a 162-game season, guys. Relax. If they continue to hit like this for a long period of time, we got to talk about it. We will. But right now, there's no reason to be overly concerned. I saw more comments on here going, hey, we just need to admit that this is an average team. And the sooner we do that, the better. Come on, dude. It's been 4 games. And then people go like, it's a trend because they're playing 500 ball since April, whatever. Is anybody like, you most of the year you play 500 ball? I've said that so many times. Most of the time, your baseball team plays 500 ball and they go on a couple of good runs. Just based on what the Padres did to start the season, if they played 500 ball since the first 7 games, which they've been close to, they're going to have a winning record. They'll probably have 85. They're on pace to win 85, 86 games. Now, whether or not you believe that will be enough to make the playoffs, I would agree. Probably not enough. But they're playing at a good clip still. Their winning percentage right now in Major League Baseball, I think it was like 600. Just barely now after the last loss, but still. I saw somebody freaking out. I was in the YouTube chat on social media. It was like, the Padres had the best record in baseball, and they lost 4 games in a row. Now they have the 7th best record in baseball, like where it's like a problem. They're a game out of first place. They're right there. Go with it. You're in a position to win. Like it's going to be it's going to be a lot of ebbs and flows of the season. And right now you're getting a little bit of a downspin. But to blame Victor Rodriguez after 4 games is the most asinine thing I've ever heard. You have a team that is a line drive hitting team. You could be successful doing that. You have different offensive identities. The Padres is hitting for a high average, putting guys on base, applying pressure, and being comfortable at the plate, getting base hits and generating runs that way. The home runs will come. I don't think you need to be worried about home runs. You can't be the live and die team with home runs. Some teams like to live by that philosophy. I don't think the Padres should. I agree with Mike Schilt in the sense that this is kind of the best way to go about. It's a little old school baseball, which I find it funny that somebody called in and said that the Padres needed to play more small ball yesterday. Like, bro, have you watched this team? They're like one of the they're like the lowest team in slugging and don't have any home runs. You think you need to play more small ball? No. The hits are going to come in scoring position. As Tony Gwynn Jr. says all the time, it's more of a problem if you're not getting runners in scoring position than the lack of hitting with runners in scoring position. That will eventually come. The same thing in soccer and in hockey. The more shots on goal you have, eventually you're going to break through. The more opportunities, the better. I think the biggest thing with the Padres right now at the plate happens to be the fact that they look like they're trying to do too much and they're getting out of what got them to this point. And you know what happens? That happens during the season. Start to feel a little bit of the pressure. Things aren't going well. You're letting some bad calls affect you. You're noticing that your home runs aren't very high and the slugging's not very high. And we got to go out there and try to do more than we possibly can. That is what the Padres have looked like in the box the last 4 games. And I'll keep reiterating what Mike Schilt said in the press conference on Sunday. They need to play their way out of it. And that's what they're going to do. And you're going to have to wait until they play their way out of it. You're a game out of first in a highly competitive division. And I know that you're only a game and a half out of third place, but guess what? Most teams in the National League wildcard are probably going to be in the National League West. And last time I checked, the season doesn't end tomorrow. You have all of June and all of July and all of August and all of September that you're going to have to make it through. It's May 21st. And I think, you know what? I think a lot of Padres fans have been burned before. I can see where it comes from. A couple of years ago, 2023, slow start. It's early, slow start. It's early. This team's going to turn it around. This team's going to turn it around. This team's going to turn it around. And then they never turned it around. I can see where that might give you a little PTSD. But you just can't dig yourself into a major hole. And so far, they haven't really done that. I would not consider what has happened in the last month of playing 500 ball a trend. There's so many different points in the season where you're going to play high-level baseball and you're going to play low-level baseball. But you look at offensively, there's guys that need to be able to step up. Manny Machado needs to start putting the ball over the fence a little bit more. Jackson Merrill's in a little bit of a rough patch. I mean, if you look at any team in Major League Baseball and 2 of their 4 studs are in serious slumps, you're not going to be very good. And Jackson Merrill's in one of them right now, and Manny Machado's in one of them right now, and Tatis has been, you could tell he's not right at the plate with obviously dealing with some BS with the strike zone and everything like that. And when you start having those guys not perform at a high level, it's the same thing as not having those guys in the lineup. I hate comparing everything to LA, but that seems to be the comparison that you have in baseball right now because they are the best team money can buy. They're complaining they're doing with what they have right now. We're doing the best with what we have right now. Okay, $450 million payroll. But let me ask you this question. Padres have 3 of their core 5 or 6 players not performing well. If you picked any of the 3 players on the Dodgers that are part of their core 6 of Shohei, of Mookie, Freddie, Freeman, Teoscar Hernandez, Will Smith, pick 3 of those guys to go in a slump. I guarantee you they're not winning a lot of games. I don't care how good they are. And their bottom half of the order is not very good either. And I don't want to compare to other teams. You got to be focused on yourself. But with all of that, it's only been 4 games. If they looked like crap in a lot of different areas, it would be time to be like, it's time to get it in gear. But they're still putting the ball in play hard. I mean, they had a lot of loud contact last night. Sometimes it doesn't work. They hit the ball right at people last night. They're not throwing away at bats yet. They look like they're pressing a little bit, but overall, I'm not worried about it. I think it'd be more worrisome if the Padres pitching staff was a nightmare. They're not. Pitching staff's fine. The bullpen has bounced back. It's a war of attrition. And you're probably going to get reinforcements around the trade deadline. We talked about it with J.J. Cooper earlier this week. The most affordable position you can get at the trade deadline, bullpen help and left field. It's going to be coming soon. They'll make an adjustment in terms of the roster. But until that point, this is the team that you have. This is the team that you paid for. 833-288-0973. 833-288-0973. Let's get out to Will in Oceanside. Will, you're on the Braden Surprenant Show. What's going on, man?
Afternoon, Braden. Hey, I'm not going to be a Debbie Downer. It seems like you've gotten some calls or some emails or something that people are just down on this, and I'm not going to be that way. I actually just started listening right now because I just got off work, and I heard a little bit what you're saying, and I agree with you. But I do want to say this. Sometimes when people are gripping, you kind of change things around or you just do something to create a flash in the pan. And I've been wondering why for a while now, how come, or maybe Shields has a reason for doing it or not doing it, but maybe considering putting Merrill even farther down the line, maybe even lead off, and then just putting Tatis, Rise, and then Machado as the cleanup. And my thinking for that is
to create some kind of a spark. I kind of feel like they want to create a spark. They want to make something happen, but the situations aren't dictating their opportunities. So, without shaking up the whole lineup and moving everybody around, I'm wondering why Schilt hasn't maybe considered. Maybe he is considering, doing something creative like that. And I'll take your thoughts off the air. Thanks.
Well, appreciate the phone call, man. Hope you had a good day at work. Driving home now. You gotta. There's a mix. We talked about this with Scan. There's a mix of. You can't make like knee-jerk reactions to things, right? You can't, just because something isn't working right now doesn't mean after a couple of games you got to change everything you do. And right now, like when you think about it from looking at the tree and not the forest, you understand that, for four games in a row to a lot of people seems like a gigantic part of this. Like, this is a long trend. This is 4 games. If we don't fix this, this is going to change into something else. It's going to spiral out of control. I mean, 4 games out of a 162 game season, 162 game season, is 2.4% of the season. Do you make any decision in life based on 2.4% of the results? I mean, think about that for a second. Even if you want to include the last 30 games, just over 30 games, you're still talking about 18.5% of the season. You can't be making drastic changes or decisions on that small percentage of a sequence of things. We call it a small sample size. So, yes, 4 games in a row seems like, oh my God, they're about to lose 8 more of these things. It's going to be 8 games in a row, almost to 12 games in a row. If we don't do anything fast, it's going to spiral out of control. That's not the case. Again, that's like panic thinking. Am I saying that the Padres are playing good baseball right now? No, I'm not. Am I defending the way they're playing? No, I'm not. But you can't freak out every time you have any type of adversity in a season. It's the same thing in life. There is nothing scarier than a calm individual when there's pressure. Because you know that person is going to thrive in pressure. When you are in any sort of situation, whether it be important situations, not important situations, but just think about your life in general. When things aren't going your way, and that happens to everybody in life, and you might be in the darkest times of your life, you might have experienced that before, but when you are in bad situations and things aren't going your way, is it better to be calm and think about solutions to problems, or is it better to just knee-jerk change everything about my lifestyle? You wouldn't do this with your life after a couple of days. You wouldn't do that if you're in a bad situation and just knee-jerk reaction to things. You can't operate like that. You will never be successful. You will never be successful doing that. So why would you expect a Major League Baseball team to do that? Be calm. When blank hits the fan, you want a manager that's calm. When blank hits the fan, you want a head coach that's calm. When blank hits the fan, I talk to this all the time to my 15 to 18-year-olds. When we have teams at Cathedral, and I don't like comparing high school sports to professional sports. It's a different animal. But just in perspective of the team atmosphere and the sports atmosphere, when we have teams that have leaderships, and the good teams have good leadership from the players. When the leaders that are players freak out during bad times, our teams are not good. I see coaches all the time throughout San Diego where things don't go their way and it's massive chaos on the sidelines. You will never be successful doing that. You need a mix. You need some young rah-rah coaches that get people excited, and you need some trained veteran coaches that understand this isn't the worst thing. We've been through things like this before. Let's not do anything rash. You think about that from emergency situations. You think about that in a lot of different situations in life. When it's not going your way, is it better to make rash emotional decisions, or is it better to stay calm and think clearly? That is what you want. Sports teaches us a lot of stuff about life, whether it be baseball, football, basketball, whatever. That's why you play sports when you're a kid. There's more to just like playing sports. I mean, it's a fun thing to do, but it teaches you about life. And a lot of those things are still applied at the major league level and at the professional level. You know, a lot of life lessons out of it. And the life lesson you can learn when you are going through adversity is to not freak out. That's when catastrophic mistakes are made. If Mike Shildt went out there and freaked out after 4 games, and if you want to say even it's been the last month and you're not upset about and you're upset about the last month that the Padres have played, again, it's 18% of the season. If he went out there and just drastically changed everything because he was freaking out about the next couple of days, you would be in trouble. The Padres would be in serious trouble, and there'd be even more chaos. It's a 4-game stretch in the month of May. Take a deep breath. The Padres win tonight, and they win tomorrow, you're back on track. All of a sudden, you're right there in, like around first place in the division. What happened last year, why the team was so successful, they got hot at the right time. If they're going to go through any type of trial and tribulation, I would much rather have it happen right now. And what happened last year? What was the Padres' record last year? They ended up winning 93 games. And what were they at game 100 last year? They were 50-50. And I felt at that point, and I remember when they lost, they got their ass handed to them by the Guardians. I was at a wedding, and I was like, this is never going to change. And at that point of being emotional, like, this is it. Things started to change in the right direction. Mike Shildt's done it before. He will continue to do it. Last year, they were 50-50 at the 100-game mark. They're not even at that mark yet. They won 93 games. Don't make rash decisions in pressure. Be calm, take a deep breath, and the ones that get through adversity are the people and the individuals that don't make rash emotional decisions. You wouldn't do it with your life. You wouldn't do it in any other situation. So why would you expect the Padres to do it? There's my insightful knowledge for the day. Didn't get to Mike and Claremont or Eric and Escondido. We'll try to get you tomorrow. Friday, if we do. No roundtable tomorrow. I'll be on at the Blood Drive with Matt Scraby tomorrow's show. Other than that, we'll see you Friday with Frank on the Braden Surprenant Show, San Diego #1 Sports Station, 97 through the Fan.